What is up, RotoGrinders? 3.5 hours nonstop NFL DFS conversation starts right now. I am your professional host, Dean Shavelson. Dean 7904 if you want to get all technical. Joining me today, former $1 million winner, Bobby Gomes, almost a two-time $1 million winner this past weekend on the podium, finished third. I thought somebody would ditch us. I thought if somebody said, you know what, I had a nice week last week, I'm dipping out. I thought it would be Bobby. Tim, unfortunately, is not with us. Tim is legitimately ill. He also had a nice week. I believe Tim finished like second or third in the 222 on FanDuel, so shout out to him. I finished like 16th in the $100 single entry on FanDuel and about maybe 5%, a little bit more than my investment. So, but I'm back, and joining me today as well, producer extraordinaire, 3.5 hours of TJ Zwarych, producing mostly. He'll be on later for crunch time. Nobody is happier than Beer. Beer is joining us later on as well. So TJ he would have really overworked, pulling all the levers for crunch time and for this show as well. TJ's going to be playing the role of Tim today. You guys know TJ, right? One of the greatest DFS players in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. Everybody knows this. Hit that like button, do subscribe, turn on those notifications. Week 12, still waiting for some news on Josh Jacobs. We're officially projecting him out. And I think Tea Leaves kind of suggests, and almost logic kind of suggests that he's going to be out just because they're playing on Thursday. It seems to make sense to me that he probably sits today. It is a 1 o'clock game, so we'll know officially at 11:30, as far as the actives and inactives. Aaron Rodgers also expected. Well, no, he's up in the air too. He's questionable. I don't know how much that matters, but he may or may not play today. Ramondre Stevenson's back. Do we even think did you have anything, TJ? Was there something else that I missed some news? You chiming in? Did I just hear noises? Or is that just me?
I don't think so. No, I wasn't me. I will say I got fooled from Adam Schefter when I was looking at these ins and outs while I was trying to do my season long stuff, because he tweets out late last night, Bucky Irving expected to play week 13. And I went, what? There's all these news that Bucky Irving is not doing well and he's not going to play, and now he's in. And then I realized that it is, in fact, week 12, and week 13 is next week.
Yeah. Schefter should know. You got to wait till the next day. Don't confuse us, Schefter. It's like when they give you NBA news the next day, like as we're waiting for news to drop, and it's just throwing things off for sure. But all right, Bobby, shout out to you. Congratulations on finishing third in the Millie Maker last week. I think you were talking pre-show about having a good showdown slate as well. You and TJ hosted that showdown slate. Was that the Sunday nighter with Josh Allen? No, that was Thursday. Yeah.
Thursday. Bobby said, I'm not playing Josh Allen. And everybody, including myself, said, Bobby, you're crazy. And Josh Allen finished with like 7 points.
What's up?
You gotta get, I'm on a heater. I'm getting lucky, obviously. So, yeah. that was a very difficult fade. I could say that.
I mean, obviously, it's a math fade. You probably don't think that Josh Allen's terrible at football, and it was smart, and it worked out in your favor. But week 12, as good as you were last week, Bobby. It's clean slate. You're back to zero. We all have 0 points. We're all playing with the same, the same puzzle pieces once again. How are you seeing the slate? Give me the overview. Oh, before we do that, I do want to drop the first clue for today's Superstar Sunday. Get in that Discord channel, win yourself a week free of RG Premium. Just tell me what superstar I'm talking about in the Discord channel. That's rotogrinders.com/Discord live stream chat channel. Tell me what superstar we're talking about, or I'm talking about, and you get yourself a week free of RG Premium. Not just football, all the goods, all the bells, all the whistles, every single sport you can think of, with the exception of NASCAR. The first clue, TJ, is rings. Rings is the first clue. Get in that Discord channel. Bobby, how are things? You want to give me the overview? To me, it's a weird slate. The running back pool is not spectacular. A little bit of murkiness with New England, which I think is something we could potentially lean in on. A little bit of murkiness with the Jacksonville running backs as well, which may be something we can lean in on. But it's an odd one. Not a lot of value. We could get a little bit of value opening up as news comes in. Where we may or may not get super chalky. The running back for Green Bay, Emmanuel Wilson, in the absence of Jacobs. But I'm curious your overview. Detroit with a 30 team total. I imagine I'm going to have a Lion in every lineup I make today. I think that's the plan. I make them by hand. But yeah, Bobby, give me the screenshot. How we see in today's slate. No weather, by the way. Weather essentially non-existent. Roth did write up Baltimore was the only one he noted with some wins. I'll drop that in chat, but it's a very, very brief read. Bobby, week 12, how we seeing things?
Yeah, it seems like it's like one of those slates where it's going to be tougher to build like a cash game team. You're not going to feel comfortable about your cash game team if you're playing cash. I know that's your streets team. You're a big cash game guy. So for me, basically, I think it's going to be a good tournament week. One of the guys that really stands out for me, at least at the running back position, is Bijan at 8,500 at New Orleans. Now, I don't know. I think people will go to Chase Brown, Gibbs. I think those guys are pretty good, but I'm leading Bijan. I think he's probably my favorite play on the slate. Then at the quarterback position and just like stacks in general, I think a lot of people are going to take Dean's approach and go to the Lions and play a bunch of these Lions players. I'm not going to be as high on Goff. I'd probably play the other side and just have like Jameis Winston stacks more in larger field stuff. Just kind of how I'm approaching it. Yeah, I think it's a good tournament slate. We'll talk through pretty much every position as we go along here. Trey McBride, once again, underpriced and going to be very popular.
Yeah, last week was, Arizona triples got you home. Besides that, the chalk was pretty bad, in part due to injuries. Jacobs getting hurt, Jalen Warren getting hurt. Scores weren't that particularly high. Like Brissett did break the all-time record, which I don't know. I never really thought about it, but I thought 48 completions was the all-time record for the NFL. I thought it'd be a little bit higher than that, but good, and in a loss, of course, chasing, and you can't imagine he's going to throw the ball 58 times. I think that's what it was last week. Their run game is non-existent essentially, but and they're still probably too cheap. Arizona, they're one of the more popular teams. TJ, I know you were touting Arizona triples last week. I had some Arizona triple stuff as well, and that's kind of what got me there. Curious for you how you're seeing today's slate as far as the overview. Is it a good tournament slate? Is there some bad chalk out there lurking? How are you excited at the prospect of playing a super chalky Emmanuel Wilson if the pieces happen to fall a certain way? How are you seeing the old screenshot?
Yeah, I actually am thinking it's a really great slate for tournaments. I do agree with what Bobby said. It's a tough cash game week because outside of, if we get Emmanuel Wilson, he's kind of the only guy that's a must play in cash games today. And so it does feel tough to build that sort of lineup. I'm not playing a cash game lineup, but looking at sort of optimal-ish stuff, thinking I want to put out my best possible lineup in our pick 6 tournament lineup. I want to put my best possible lineup in my blitz tournament lineup. And so I don't necessarily know how I'm going to go about that yet. Right now, I have Jameis Winston as my QB in that one, but
that's your best possible lineup.
I think it's a phenomenal tournament slate. Like, yeah, Jameis is my favorite QB on the slate.
Okay. All right, fair
I
enough.
hated him last week against Green Bay, but now we get it against Detroit in a matchup that should be much higher scoring than that one. It feels like a Jameis day to me.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be chasing and throwing the ball, you have to imagine. And the Detroit secondary is beat up a bit. So I guess there's some logic to that. And, of course, his pieces are really, really cheap. And we'll talk about it. We're going to go, game by game. We're going to throw him in some tiers, which we'll talk about in a second. But, yeah, I'm curious to get more on that take. He is cheap because it also, like, if you like Winston, that means you like him more than your boy Chuck. And Chuck, you can kind of make a similar argument against Atlanta in a dome. A team that's kind of given up. And the pieces are pretty cheap for him as well, outside of Olave, who's not like super expensive. So, and somebody mentioned in chat, somebody just kind of asked about Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, Shuck, and Jameson. You want to power rank those three? I guess you have JMO 1. I think you also could throw Tyrod Taylor, T-Mobile, Ty God into the conversation.
Yeah, I would drop Kirk Cousins below Tyrod Taylor and Shedeur Sanders if you're wanting a punt quarterback.
Well, I didn't mention Shedeur. I think earlier this week, I believe you were pumping up Shedeur. And what was it?
That was like Rich or something. That wasn't me. I was pumping up Tyrod Taylor.
Okay. Isn't Rich from Cleveland though? So like that makes sense, right?
He does live in Cleveland. I don't know if he's from Cleveland, but he is in the Cleveland area. TJ and myself, we're on the Pick Six show, and I think as far as like stats and stuff, like nobody gives you like the best like random stats than Rich. He does a spectacular job. Dago's awesome on that show too. And, again, not for me, but I think that's required listening, the Pick Six show every single week.
It's for you too.
You don't have to listen. You're the host of the show.
No. Did I say I don't have to listen? No, I said do not listen. Don't listen because I'm there is what I'm saying. Listen because TJ's producing.
Well, we know sometimes you don't pay attention. So.
Well, you just outed yourself as not paying attention for misunderstanding what I was saying. You were trying to call me out and you got caught. Like if you're going to actually, you got to be right is the key to actually.
Okay. Can we talk, TJ, do you like Tyler Shuck this week? Just wondering.
So
I know you're a Saints guy.
Well, he is not in my. So I'm playing 20 lineups today, and I really had a tough time whittling my pool down. And so, kind of what I did is about half the quarterbacks in my pool, I'm just going to be doing like single darts on in that 20 entry max. I'm going to make one stack with them in the 20, and then I have a core of 4 players. And so, Shuck is one of those guys that I'm playing in one of my 20 lineups, but he's not one of my core guys.
Is it a Shuck double?
Yeah, Juwan Johnson, Chris Olave.
Yeah.
Run it back with Bijan on the other side.
And like, I'm not saying you should play him, but like Vele's been at least on the field. He's running routes. He's out there.
You could add Vele too if you want. I just kind of feel like I just feel like Johnson and Olave probably have 20 plus targets between the two of them, and Vele probably finishes with like 5.
Yeah, yeah. And
I don't hate the Shuck call at 4,400. I think that's pretty interesting. Like you pretty much get everything you want.
In terms of the cheap QBs, to go back to your question, Dean, and obviously we'll get to this a little bit when we get to the stacks, but just individually, sub 5K, I would go Jameis 1, Shuck 2, Taylor 3, Sanders 4, Cousins 5. And I'm not playing any Cousins.
Yeah, in Cousins, you have Moody and Pitts. It's just if Cousins could throw a ball, it makes sense. And you can even put him with Bijan too, in theory. Like,
how does Cousins affect Bijan? Because the last time Cousins was out there with Bijan was chalk, and he was a big landmine for sure.
Look, I think that Cousins is like 80% almost definitely washed, right? Yeah. But like the whole idea is you can't just like last time it. And like you're right, he looked terrible. And he's probably done. It's probably over, like well over.
We just got Dontavian Wicks in, Matthew Golden out for what it's worth.
Is that worth anything?
I was slightly considering a Romeo Doubs or even a Christian Watson this week as a one-off, and so that makes them a little bit more exciting to me.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like probably get 7 more snaps because you don't got to rotate Golden in.
Yeah, I think he was hobbling last week, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. And I guess he's not back just yet, but the other receiver for Green Bay, I forget all the receivers for Green Bay, the practice window is at least opened. Yeah. God, why am I forgetting the guy's name? There you go. Yeah, Reed.
If he happened to get back early, he was only 4,400 this week. I'm sure they'll probably bump him up next week, but he was only 4,400.
Yeah, the sites they had a Burrow for 4K last week, playing a little bit of fire. Burrow not back this week, by the way. I mean, it seems very likely to me that they're probably being precautionary, not pushing him too hard, and probably back for Thanksgiving because he's on the Thursday slate. Maybe they wouldn't want to play him on Sunday and Thursday. I know he's on the Thanksgiving slate, which we will have content for. TJ, I think you're actually doing a show for Thanksgiving. Is that correct?
Yeah, myself, Tim, and myself, Tim, and Jordan Vanek.
Oh, they're not on that show on Thanksgiving.
Well,
Bobby finding out firsthand right now, like shit.
I was wondering if I was going to be on that.
I think it was volunteers. I think nobody was exactly assigned, and like I'm pretty sure,
it was the Canadian and volunteers.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, and obviously it's an early show. It's not like in the afternoon. I'm assuming TJ like 11 o'clock or so in the East Coast, give or take. Do you have a time?
11:45 Eastern, so hour 15 minutes before the slate locks.
Okay. I didn't realize. Okay, I didn't realize. For some reason in my head I was thinking like 12:30 lock, but I guess it's a little bit after that.
Yeah, it's 1 p.m. lock Eastern.
All right. Anything else we should discuss? Kind of throw out there. If you're playing cash games, make sure to get at least 1 Lion, possibly 2 Lions. The best receiver in the slate, as far with projections, is almost definitely Amon-Ra. If you have the salary Gibbs, if you can't get the Gibbs, Montgomery is certainly pretty interesting. You got to figure that Detroit backfield is going to play pretty well today. There is some coach speak for Montgomery. to get a little bit more for what it's worth. Try to get Trey McBride. Yeah, he's spectacular. A little bit trickier on FanDuel. FanDuel makes it tougher to get. They really bumped him up. Certainly wouldn't discourage it. Bobby, I know you like to talk about defenses. This is an awesome week for defense, at least on paper. And there's obviously a ton of randomness to defense, but if you just sort of look at some matchups, at least to me, I think it feels like we're going to get some good defensive scores. Tennessee's on the slate against Seattle. And that's not even my favorite. Two bad teams, but, facing worse quarterbacks. The Cleveland Raiders game is a 36.5 total. Crosby and Garrett, you got to figure combined for, 4 or 5 sacks or alone. Sanders versus Geno.
It's hard to think that obviously defense is so random. If anybody gets touchdowns, they can outscore anybody, but it's kind of hard to think that the Browns don't start with a 5-sack baseline against the Raiders today.
Yeah. Well, Sanders gives up a lot of, what we've seen so far, he's given up a lot of sacks. He got sacked a ton in college too. Baltimore's defense is healthy and facing Tyrod as almost a double-up favorite with 30-point to team projection and a 15-point team total for the Jets. That looks really good. And again, there's some randomness, but I'm trying to play good defenses today. A lot of times I'll just punt it off and just hope, right? Maybe we'll get 5 points. Maybe we'll luck box into a punt return or something like that. But I feel like defense is kind of important to spend up on today. I'm not sure how the field feels about that, but
so I think what TJ said is actually a good point. The Browns D is going to be pretty chalky. The Raiders on the other side, spending up the 700 in tournaments or whatever, 600 it is. I think I like the Raiders more based on how long Shador kind of holds that ball back there, especially if he's being they think he's being sabotaged by the coach there. So yeah,
I don't think I haven't been in the weeds on the Sanders stuff. I know. I guess that's an important conversation throughout the week. I don't know how it's relevant to what's happening in football. In the big picture, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
I think it does matter from Shador's success perspective.
Sure,
successful here,
but just throw him out there because it's a lost season. You give him some reps and see what you got. If he's bad, he's bad. If he's good, great. Whatever. But figure it out.
Would we play Detroit Lions D with Jameis? I think that's fine in large.
I love that. I don't think that's crazy.
I got to remind myself, make a note, it's in the millie to leave that open where I can get Lions D and Shador and not Shador, sorry, Jameis on the same team.
Jameis almost drew 4 or 5 interceptions last week. The box score looked a lot better than the actual game. And we know historically, it was always kind of that joke, but you can play Winston with his defense, the defense he is facing. I shouldn't say his defense. By the way, check out the Discord channel. Do we have any winners? I don't think so. No winners on one. First clue was rings. We'll drop that second clue. It's not Herschel Walker or Terry Bradshaw or Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady or Butterbean. Does Butterbean have rings? Michael Phelps or Usain Bolt or Magic Johnson or Bill Russell. Yeah, Bill Russell's got 11, right? They get 11, maybe 13, more than 10. More rings than he had fingers. Okay. Second clue is blue. Rings and blue. Okay, so we are going to be going game by game. We're going to be throwing these teams in tiers. Today's tiers, Tim was going to do it for us, and he was very excited at the prospect because he's very excited, very passionate about this topic. And unfortunately, Tim was not feeling well, and I'm filling in, and I had to do it on the fly. So he didn't have his tiers ready just yet. So, feel free to come at me. You can always come at me. But yeah, today's tiers was he's very passionate about Thanksgiving dinner, Thanksgiving sides, Thanksgiving food. I was going to do just sides. I think he was going to do sides as well. But then I realized there's no good sides. So I had to add in the other stuff too. So the Thanksgiving food, non-desserts. I didn't go, I did exclude desserts. Otherwise, pecan pie would have got some love. But Bobby, what is the best and the worst? And let me know in chat as well. Hey, chat, hit that like button and subscribe. Yeah, turn on those notifications. We go live as well. Bobby, what do you got? Best and worst Thanksgiving food?
I'm not a fan of turkey for what it's worth. Like,
is that the worst?
We only eat it really once a year. I
Mm.
think that was the argument like a lot of people make on Twitter. If it was really that good, would we eat it that much? So
Yeah.
if that was number one, I probably would be I'd be opposed to that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really love Thanksgiving. Like,
what's your favorite item though? Like, not these use. What's your? There's one thing you're eating.
Stuffing's one, right? Like, stuffing's one. I'm not really sure outside of that though. I just like the stuffing, and yeah, I'll eat the turkey because it's there.
TJ told me.
I'm trying to think what else we have. I don't even remember really because I'm just trying to build DFS.
It's a truly horrible list.
TJ told me before the show. He looked at the list. He does this list stinks. So TJ,
your one would be my 5.
What would be your 5?
Your 1 would be my 5, and your 4 would be my 1.
Well, I mean, these are terrible takes, but okay.
No,
I mean, one being a 5 is terrible.
Takes are the worst, Dean.
The people are going to disagree with that take. They'll agree with you on the 4 take, but the 1 take they're not going to agree with you with.
Mashed potatoes with gravy should be 1. Here, like I come from a Ukrainian family, so we'll have like a lot of pierogies with our Thanksgiving meals and Christmas meals a lot of the time. But mashed potatoes and gravy mixed in with the stuffing, it's incredible. That's the bee's knees.
Yeah, that's like that's good.
I don't really like turkey on its own, but turkey when you load it with gravy and mix it with the mashed potatoes and the stuffing, that's when it gets tasty.
Yeah, that's kind of my point, which will get you. Let's go ahead and reveal the board. So, like, general take, ham is better than turkey. So I have ham 1. I can't believe you have ham last.
I agree with so ham is actually what would be up there for me. Like, I didn't know if that counted. I got killed one time because I said rice pilaf was something I ate. We eat at family barbecues, and everyone was like, no,
rightfully so. Rightfully so.
I didn't want to say ham because it's more Christmas. Kind of, but like ham, I love ham. So yeah, ham would be 1 for me. Actually, I like this list, to be honest.
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate it. This is buttering up the judge is never a bad idea, Bobby, right before we play the game. But yeah, mashed potato, I'm not a fan of mashed potatoes. And turkey, I put smack in the middle because, like you kind of said it, you need all these variables. Oh, you got to have the right gravy. It can't be too dry. 80% of the time it's too dry. The perfect turkey is really, really good, but you need certain variables that kind of work out. So I put it in the middle. Stuffing is generally pretty solid. I think that's the best side. Bobby said that. So I got it at 2. I'm not a fan of mashed potatoes. And also TJ did add in a performance enhancer. TJ's like, yeah, well, gravy. Well, okay. Now we need performance enhancers? Throw in gravy? By itself.
It's not my fault you don't like sauce or dressing, Dean.
And then green bean casserole
out on everybody else. That's a you problem.
I was trying to think of the worst side, and I think there's probably something worse, but green bean casserole is pretty bad. Is there a worse side, TJ, for Thanksgiving besides green bean casserole?
One that we'll often have will be like creamed mushrooms, and I absolutely hate mushrooms.
I love mushrooms, but I don't like cream, so I'd probably be out. I think cream is a deal breaker for me.
Honestly, I said the list is terrible, but frankly, if you swap mashed potatoes and ham, then it's a great list to me.
Well, there you go. It's
just the fact that it's where they're located.
All right. Where's the baked mac and cheese?
I don't like fish or seafood, which technically is not like a meat, depending on how you want to look at it. But outside of those, ham is my least favorite meat.
Michael says top side for me is jambalaya. Jambalaya is a Thanksgiving food? Thanksgiving side? I don't think of that.
Anything can be depending on where your family's from.
Sure. Well, I guess if you're from New Orleans or something, jambalaya is like some, a staple. Cranberry sauce. It's just a sauce. Is that a side?
Technically, that's a side.
Okay, so forgive me. Do people just eat cranberry sauce like as is? They put it on. It goes on stuff first, right?
Some people put it on the turkey. Some people just eat it on its own, though.
They just eat it on its own.
I don't think
you
that's
have it on like as a side on your plate. Then it's like a different little palate cleanser.
You'd mix it with like the potatoes, and
I think it's a mixer, but I don't know.
You're not just eating that.
Can be.
No, for you, it's sociopath just eating cranberry sauce at Thanksgiving.
Let us know in chat if you eat cranberry sauce by itself. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's play the game. It's Pittsburgh versus the Bears. That's our first game we're going to be talking about. 47.5 is the total. We did have the coin toss backstage, and TJ won the coin toss this week. So he's going to go first. I don't know how much it matters, but we're not sure about Aaron Rodgers playing this week. If not, Mason Rudolph would step in here. The Bears are 3-point favorites. Jaylen Warren, he's healthy enough to play this week. Of course, he tapped out last week. TJ, this to me is, even though it's a 47.5 total, maybe it's a bad thought by me, it's kind of one of the more uneventful games for me. I know we're really thin as far as cheap receivers, and Luther Burden is something we're trying to make work this week, and I might try to make it work as well because on DK, the 3K and 4K receivers are, I don't want to say non-existent, but really thin. So he's certainly in that pool of cheap receiver that can possibly get you there. Steelers, Bears, TJ, what do you got?
I always find it so funny when people in the YouTube chat are like, can we please chat football? Like, I got to get my lineups in. And it's like, well, we have 3 hours left, so I can, don't worry. We're going to get it. There's 3 hours left of show.
This is the appetizer show, if you will.
I will put, like, so Pittsburgh I have in green bean casserole. I do think, like, say Rodgers is out and you want to throw out a 4K or whatever he is, Mason Rudolph with a Washington and Metcalf in 150 lineup. Sure. I don't think it's ridiculous to do, but I think I would still drop down the Steelers to the bottom tier. I personally don't have any interest in getting there today. Don't want to play Jaylen Warren first game back from an ankle injury. Maybe Gainwell and Johnson are still heavily involved. So personally, no interest whatsoever in the Steelers. I'm going to drop them in the 5 tier green bean casserole. Chicago is a team I have a lot of trouble with because I don't like Chicago today. I understand that they are somewhat interesting for tournaments. If you look at the season stat, Pittsburgh's defense looks really bad, right? They've been attackable all season long. They've been good lately. They've been really good lately. They've been, we talked about this a bit on the Pick 6 show. They've been switching their game plans up from game to game specifically for who they're playing. And ever since they popped Jalen Ramsey back to the safety, they've actually looked pretty good. Now, he ended up getting hurt again last game, but I don't feel great about Chicago. I think they'd be fine, bumped up to like a turkey, but I'm personally not getting there, so I'm going mashed potatoes.
ESPN insider Dan Graziano tweeted out, Aaron Rodgers arrived at Soldier Field about 20 minutes ago, walked one lap around the field, flipped off a couple cameras that were filming and went back inside. Used his right hand to flip the bird, so unclear if he could do it with his left. Status for today's game still up in the air. So there you go. I can't tell if that's a fake tweet, but I think it's legit because that's a legit guy. Dan Graziano. That's pretty funny. All right, Bobby. By the way, somebody in chat, Har Jimbaugh, is saying this guy has a grand piano in his house. Did he win the Million Maker? Well, you did, and you almost won it again, too. So there you go. I don't know if that's somebody making a joke or not, if they're not aware, but it's funny if they're not aware. You did. Where do we want to put? Do we want to adjust what TJ did as far as Pittsburgh and Chicago? TJ not terribly enthused.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with TJ. I will say, like Pittsburgh, I just have no interest with Mason Rudolph under center. I will, for the Bears, like Luther Burden and Swift would be the two that stand out the most to me. Probably like Burden more than Swift. If Swift's going to be chalky, I'll probably be under the field, but 5,600, I'll still leave in my player pool. Burden 3,600. What are we around? Like, what's he going to be? 5-6%?
I don't know. I've heard his name floated out, and there's no. It's like him or AD Mitchell, Mooney. Can you rank those three for me, Bobby? Is there somebody I'm missing as far as the 3K DK receivers?
Isn't Mooney like 4,800?
I should. Yeah, he is cheap, but not that cheap. You're right. I'm trying to think of the 3K guys.
I also want to quickly correct myself. Kickback with Mikey. Shout out to him in chat. He corrected me. I misspoke when I said Jalen Ramsey got hurt last game. No, he left last game because he got ejected. He didn't get hurt. Yeah.
If I had to rank those guys, it would be Burden, AD Mitchell, and then Mooney. Mooney is 4,800. Vele's 3,200. John Mechie's 3,300. Rome Wilson's 3K, and I think those guys are just like large field punts pretty much. And
Wicks is 3.5. Not to cut you off, sorry, but Wicks is 3.5. Does he join the conversation?
Wicks, I haven't reran. I think you could consider Wicks. I like Wicks being in that. He probably benefits Romeo Doubs more, and Romeo Doubs is someone I'm getting to at 4,900 a good bit. So Yeah. With Golden out, sorry. That's what benefits.
I generally don't like playing the Packer receivers. I generally don't like playing Love. And to me, it kind of feels, we'll get there, but it kind of feels like a game where they're not going to be pushed terribly hard and they just kind of get through this game. But I hear you. And I think Dobbs is going to be fairly popular, if I'm not mistaken, depending on, at least he was projected to play be pretty well earlier today or yesterday when I was kind of running some stuff. I don't know. I just don't like that Packers offense a ton. And it's ever since they lost their stud tight end. TJ, you have an answer for that, by the way? Your favorite cheap receiver? I threw out some names. If there's anybody we're missing as far as the cheapies, since we're on it, we're talking about Burden. I guess Wicks is 3.5. If you want to throw, I was thinking like Hodgins. No, I don't think you're going to do that. Yoshivas is on the fringe.
Yoshivas, if he counts, is definitely my number one. I will say, like, of the sub 4K guys, I would probably go Burden and AD Mitchell. If I can afford Burden, it'd be him. If not, AD Mitchell. But Yoshivas is the only one I feel somewhat confident about.
Okay. Let me know in chat who your favorites, like cheapy 4.5 or so. 4.5. They're talking about AD Mitchell there in chat. AD Mitchell, like all the talent in the world, he does great football things with the exception of catching the football, but otherwise.
Donnie Watson bringing it up in chat as well. Like, if you're running a lot of lineups, I think Mitch Tinsley for Cincinnati is viable as well.
Lippy is saying D-Hop. Yeah. He's I guess, Hopkins, I suppose, is kind of sort of somewhat. It's hard to play Hopkins for me. I'm an ageist. I'm a bit of an ageist. So I have a hard time playing dudes like that. I can't imagine he gets a ton of volume, but he can certainly get in the end zone. Okay. Game number 2. By the way, nobody got today's Superstar Sunday just yet. Not Larry Bird or Shaquille O'Neal or Michael Jordan. Shib Daddy says that Beyonce is his wife's guest. She's playing a different game. But it is not Beyonce. It is also not Steph Curry. But we can drop the third clue for the people. Let's give them a third clue. Sure, why not? Rings, blue, and gold. Rings, blue, and gold. That is our 3 clues for today's Superstar. Get in that Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord, live stream chat channel. Get yourself a week free of RG Premium. Okay, Bobby, next game is yours. We're talking about the Seahawks and the Titans, 40.5 total. Seahawks almost 2 touchdown favorites here on the road because the Titans are projected to score just 14 points with that putrid offense. Man, their wide receiver core is so bad. They are down bad for sure. It's really, really ugly. They're cheap, but they're attached to Cam Ward in this horrific offense. Kenneth Walker, good to go. I know he was in the injury report earlier in the week. He's expected to be good. There's also some coach speak on him. JSN, best receiver in football this season. The question is kind of, is Darnold going to pass the ball more than 20 times? Is he going to have to pass the ball more than 20 times? Because this certainly feels like a game where they're probably not going to be pushed. Bobby, Seahawks, Titans, what do you got?
Yeah, Titans just immediately in the bottom tier. Green bean casserole. No interest in the Titans. Maybe the wide receiver. What's his name? Cameron Chamer Dyke?
DK?
I don't really know how to pronounce that, but yeah, he's the only one that's making my player pool from the Titans. And then the Seahawks side, mashed potatoes for the Seahawks. I know it's a great matchup. Split backfield there with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. I think I'd prefer Kenneth Walker, but for me, I just don't play a ton of split backfields, even in good matchups, which is maybe a detriment to my playing style, but it's just how I approach it. Jackson Smith and Jigba's up at 9K. Probably be right around the field on JSN. He'd be my favorite Seahawk, but he's definitely at that price tag. There are receivers I'd much rather play. You can play ARSB for 1,000 less. I guess he'd be my second favorite spend up, but they're the mid tier. I like guys like AJ Brown. I like Jamison Williams. I like Jacoby Myers at 4,700. So these guys are going to take up a lot of my exposure. going to be playing T. Higgins and Rashee Rice as well. So the $9K price tag for JSN, I'm really not getting overweight exposure because of the guys around him that I think can have comparable games at cheaper tags. So yeah, Seahawks for me and mashed potatoes.
To me, one of the more interesting things on this slate is the best running back in football this year, Jonathan Taylor, 3% owned. The best receiver in football this year, JSN, like 11% owned. Like the two best.
You know why, though, Dean?
What's that?
Do you know why?
Oh, of course I understand why. Yeah, I understand why. I get it. But it's
a thing.
We live in the world of a salary cap.
There it is.
Pull the string on the back of my neck. But I think it's just an interesting and I don't know if I'm getting to him either. But I think, and that's more of a Bobby question, more of a TJ question as far as how they're handling it in large field tournaments. And it's really not hard to get over on Jonathan Taylor. But the other question is like, what does he have to give you to justify that 10K asking price? And we'll get to the the Colts soon enough. TJ, how do you feel about Bobby's placement of we're in the gutter so far? These first two games out the gate, pretty underwhelming. Do you agree with Bobby as he takes a sip on his dunks?
Spot on for the Titans. I am going to move the Seahawks up one tier to Turkey. I think Kenneth Walker is very viable today. Tons of positive coach speak for him all week. He's looked great. They want to get him more involved. He's got a little precautionary glute injury but he's going to play. And so maybe that Q tag scares people off. I think he is viable. And then one of my favorite bets on the slate, prop bets, is this was from Charlie Wright on Scores and Odds. It's under 29.5 passing attempts for Sam Darnold. But having said that, I do think a Darnold to JSN or even Darnold with JSN and one of Shaheed or Barner is somewhat viable on this slate. I'm not getting there personally, but it is someone I considered just because if the Seahawks decide to, they'll be able to do whatever they want on Tennessee. And so if they decide they want to throw the ball a ton, they might have 3 touchdown passes in the first half and then not throw it again, but who cares because you already got those 3 touchdown passes. So I think they're viable. You got JSN, you got Kenneth Walker, and then there's other ancillary pieces that are fine. Barner, I think, is an okay punt tight end, even on his own, because he goes in there for his tush pushes. That might happen on the 1 yard line. So I think I have Seahawks in Turkey.
I was thinking about it. The challenges, typically we have Tim on here. We have Tim and Bobby. And if I disagree or if they don't like how my ruling, they could challenge. They get 1 challenge per game. And TJ jumps in and does the ruling. And is Bobby just going to be playing at a disadvantage where TJ makes the challenge rulings? Or?
Bobby challenges and I just hope, nope, I'm still going my pick.
I don't know. Maybe we can the first chatter I see or something like that. Maybe, but it is kind of a funny concept to screw Bobby over and just have TJ be the official ruler for challenges. But I actually do agree with TJ. Kenneth Walker has a butt, but he's going to play with that butt. He's good to go with the glutes. I think he's a really interesting play here. Pretty good price on DK as well. I assume he's fine. He should theoretically separate. He's a home run hitter. That's the way historically he's been. He can break off some big runs. And I think JSN again has got to be in your tournament pool. And if you're doing the ownership game, JSN versus somebody like Amon-Ra, distinctly different. Probably 3 times less, give or take. Right, especially in the single entry stuff that I kind of like to build my lineups around. I don't know if I'm getting there, but I love the boldness of playing some JSN in single entry. So point for TJ. TJ on the board, 1-0 TJ currently. Discord channel, nobody just yet has banked our Superstar Sunday. It's not Jason Kidd or Dirk Nowitzki or Charles Woodson or John Elway or Marshall Falk. Or Howie Long. It's not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Draymond Green. And it's definitely not Sonic the Hedgehog.
That's my favorite guess so far. That's fantastic. Ring,
that actually is really good with the rings.
That could not possibly fit Sonic the Hedgehog better.
Yeah. That is actually prickly is clue 4, by the way. That is actually a pretty fun guess. Well played.
You kind of just have to guess that, even though it's wrong, because can we give him a free week just because that guess is so good?
I mean, it's not my. If you want to juice them up. It's not my call. I don't have those abilities. I don't have those powers.
I don't either. I gotta just tell Steve the name.
Yeah, you gotta delegate it. But if you want to make an executive decision, by all means, go for it. All right. So we should honor the one that makes us laugh every once in a while. TJ, this is your game. It's the Vikings, the Packers. 41.5 is the total. Again, we are officially ruling Jacobs out currently in projections. We're leading out, which they don't typically do unless they feel pretty strongly that somebody is listed questionable and is not going to play. And I would agree with our projections. Now, it's certainly possible Jacobs plays, but it just kind of makes sense that he'll just rest up for Thursday. If we lose Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson projects to be one of the best dollar-for-dollar running backs on the slate. On a running back slate, TJ, that's not very strong. I think a running back slate today is pretty weak. And another reason why I'm willing to lean in on unpredictable situations like the Walker split. We'll talk about New England in a second. I think it's another interesting stuff. Interesting conversation with Stevenson coming back. Jacksonville kind of leaning in on what's going to go there as well. But I don't really love the running back slate, so I think it's certainly an interesting week to lean in. And then is Emmanuel Wilson good chalk if he's going to be, I don't know, 35, 40% owned? I understand why we're doing it. We're looking for some savings, and theoretically the backfield is essentially his. Home game, 7-point favorite. And we did get Wicks in, and Golden. Golden is out if you missed that. Packers, Vikings. TJ, what do you got?
I just got a notification on my phone, and I was like, what are the chances that's Josh Jacobs news? I'm going to drop the Vikings right away down to green bean casserole. I just have no interest in them this week. If you wanted to put them up to mashed potatoes, I think that would be viable just because Justin Jefferson's not very expensive and neither is JJ McCarthy. So sure, you can try it if you want, but that Packers defense is really good. Vikings offense has not looked very good. I will bump the Packers up to mashed potatoes, though. I don't have them higher than this because while there are some Packers I like, I don't want to play more than one of them. I have no plans to do a Jordan Love stack with 2 or 3 of his receivers. I guess from a leverage standpoint off of Emmanuel Wilson, sure, but I personally don't want to do that today. I think Emmanuel Wilson is great chalk at 30%. Like he starts becoming bad chalk at like 75%. He is just way too cheap. And so Emmanuel Wilson, I do think is a really good play today, regardless of ownership. If in large field GPPs, he gets over that 50-60% mark, then maybe you start worrying about it. But he just projects so damn well for that price tag. You just jam him in and great. We got a free square. Let's look at the rest of my lineups. There are good pivots off of him. And so that's why I don't think you got a like lock button on Wilson or anything. I think Knight, Montgomery, Walker, all in that range, very viable. But Wilson kind of bar none the best of that group, assuming Jacobs is out.
You guys have mostly played it nice so far as mostly agreeing with each other. Bobby, how do we feel about the placement of the Packers and mashed potatoes and the Vikings in the gutter hanging out with green bean casserole?
The Packers I would put in turkey just because if Wilson does become chalky, he's going to be someone I want to get to. I also like Dobbs, especially now that you're removing Golden, 4,900 for Dobbs. I have interest there. Christian Watson, he's going to make my pool, but I like Christian Watson too. The issue is I'm not getting a ton of Jordan Love, so I don't understand why I'm over the field on both, but maybe probably just playing one of the two. I have very little Jordan Love.
That's how I feel too. I don't want to stack this team at all, but I like individual pieces.
He can't move. He got hurt last week. There's no clear and obvious players to stack. I mean, there's multiple guys to stack him with, but no like clear number one for me. So I basically never play Love. If I would, it would be with Kraft, but of course Kraft unavailable. So that's my issue, and that's why I don't love the Packers. Individual pieces are certainly fine, but Bobby, I didn't mean to cut you off. Feel free to finish your thought there. With Green Bay.
It's fine. They're just very conservative. And then on the other side, like I hate saying like young QBs stink, but
yeah,
JJ McCarthy right now, he's pretty bad. So I'm not really interested in Minnesota. So they're fine in green bean casserole.
Yeah, he's certainly been bad so far. Doesn't mean he's always gonna be bad, but he's not shown us any really reason to think otherwise just yet. Revenge. How vengeful is Aaron Jones? Do we care about Aaron Jones? Is he vengeful, Bobby? Where is he on the John Wick revenge scale?
I'm going to be under on Aaron Jones. I don't buy the revenge. It's just tough with JJ McCarthy back there. I don't know what the situation is going to be in terms of like, he's going to be in a game where he could catch passes, and Jordan Mason's there too. So just like dual backfield, I really have no interest.
How terrible was McCarthy, Bobby, that we're looking at Jefferson at 3% ownership? Visibly frustrated last game. If you watched, like, he was definitely upset with some of the passes that were coming his way. Either they were not thrown accurately. They were thrown fast, but not accurately from JJ.
I saw I saw Underdog posted that they have their lowest receiving yardage line Justin Jefferson's receiving yards line opened at the lowest number ever for him.
What, 65? I'm just guessing. I don't know.
67.5, I think.
Yeah, he typically 80s, right? And rightfully so. It's just been bad, but just the ownership stuff, Bobby. And if you're playing large field, you're talking Millie Maker, and that's a world I don't dabble in because it's 40% up top. I think it is this week, $20 to get in, 2.5 mil and 1 mil up top. So you got to be ambitious. You got to be a little bit goofy. You're shooting for first. If you're shooting for first, is Jefferson in your pool, Bobby?
I have no Jefferson currently. Not playing him. I just don't believe in JJ right now. The thing is, like, these young quarterbacks, it's only been 2 games, right? Not 2 games, sorry. It's been more than 2 games, but it's only been a few games. They need more time. I just think people are so quick to say this guy's a bust. And, like, we've seen it with Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, guys like that they struggle out the gate, but then a few years down the road, they get it. I think the expectations are way too high for these young kids coming into the league. I know he sat out his first year, but he has a quarterback guru as a coach, supposedly. I just think the expectations are way too high for these kids.
I'm going to move Green Bay back down to mashed potatoes just because there's just like no chance I'm playing Jordan Love. I do like some of these pieces for Green Bay. It's a close call. If there were 6 tiers, I'd put him in like in between turkey and mashed potatoes.
I buttered you up in everything pregame.
So that was a point for Bobby, correct? That's a Bobby point? I think
I have them in turkey.
Oh, man. Well, now I can't take it back because then it'd be super obvious I'm rooting against Bobby.
So, that was one of those things where we were all saying the same thing anyways. It just kind of depends if you want to bump them up to turkey because there's enough one-offs we like or not because it's not like a full stack.
Bobby, you got the Giants and the Lions. The Lions, I didn't realize now it's 32. Their team total is 32. Good Lord. That is a monster team total. At home, in the Dome. They're in the Dome or in a Dome for like the next 4 games or so. This is just a huge total against a terrible defense in the Giants. They're monster favorites, 2 touchdown favorites. Winston, once again, giving it a go for the Giants. Wan'Dale Robinson is projected to be one of the more popular receivers. Everybody's popular for the Lions. Gibbs, Amon-Ra, J-Mo. If you want a super, super cheap tight end, Brock Wright is there for you. And certainly Jared Goff is one of the more popular quarterbacks as well. 32 team total, Bobby. I have a hard time not getting to some Lions. How do you feel about Detroit and the Giants?
I'm the one kicking it off, or is it TJ?
I believe it's you.
It's me?
Yeah.
Great. So I'm probably losing this one too. In terms of I like Jameis a good bit. If I was stacking him, it's going to be Wan'Dale. Going to be my primary option. I think Theo Johnson's in play, but the issue with Theo Johnson is he doesn't really do much outside of like score touchdowns. I think he's had 1 game where he's gotten there without scoring a TD this year. I like Slayton at 4,500 to pair with J-Mo as well. And also the correlation of this game is great with Amon-Ra, J-Mo, Gibbs. Like, this game's a really good game just to have exposure to. I prefer the Giants side more than the Lions, where I know the Lions are going to be really high on everyone's board. I'm going to put the Giants in stuffing. And I'm also going to put the Lions in stuffing because I'm not playing Goff stacks, but I'm playing more of these guys like Gibbs, Amon-Ra, J-Mo. Playing them more as run backs and Jameis Winston stacks. I think they're all fine. I'll probably be under the field on the majority of them. But I'm still going to be right there. Like, I'm going to be at the field on most. Like, I think Gibbs I'll be slightly over. Amon-Ra I'll be slightly under. J-Mo I'll be slightly under. Who's their tight end? Brock Wright. Currently, I'm not playing Brock Wright. He's in my pool, but very low. Yeah. I don't know. The Lions defense versus Jameson's interesting in large field stuff. I think you can play the Lions D and J-Mo. Like being overweight on the Lions defense. Yeah, that's pretty much my thought process. I feel like TJ's going to put the Lions right in Ham. So
you're just giving him a point. Yeah, I mean, the point is right there for the taking if TJ wants it.
Yeah.
And TJ, before you adjust, if you want to adjust Bobby's placements, question for you from Donnie in chat: can you play Gibbs and Montgomery together? I think that's something you can do, but you tell me.
Sure, but I wouldn't. Like, I just think there's too many other good cheap running backs in that range, and then too many other good spend ups as well, that I don't think they both reach a ceiling today. And so I would rather go like Montgomery and Bijan or Gibbs and Wilson.
Okay, fair enough. Are we making any adjustments here, TJ?
Yeah, I'll potentially give one of the points back because I'm obviously going to bump Lions up to Ham, but I'm going to do it with the Giants as well. Jameis is one of my favorite quarterbacks on the slate. I think this will be a very favorable game script where they're down lots of points and he's just got to sling it. And so I'm a little bit worried about putting them in the Ham tier because I'm not positive who I'd want to add to the stack outside of Wandale. I think Darius Slayton's probably my favorite coming back healthy. Theo Johnson's fine. I would have loved it a lot more, though, if Slayton was out and we could have got Isaiah Hodgins for whatever, 3.1, whatever he is, 3.3, whatever he was. So I am going with Giants in Ham. I think I have a feeling I might lose my free point on the Lions, so by moving them up.
You are. that is
how I feel, though, so I had to do it. Like the Giants, my core, the Giants are one of my 4 teams in my core stacks today.
I mean, the game is just something we do to play along here and just to kind of like for the conversation. But, you know, your convictions are more important. So it's worth I'm glad you're putting it out there as far as your convictions, putting the Giants up there in the top tier. But, yeah, of course, I'm going to tell you to put the Giants back into stuffing.
I think that's one of my favorite ways to stack the Lions, too, is Jameis Winston, Wandale Robinson, or another one of his pass catchers. Then you play Gibbs, then you play St. Brown, then you play Jameson Williams. Like, I think you can do a full Detroit stack without Goff and with Winston.
So like 5 or 6 players, and you can get Detroit defense in that game too if you want.
Sure.
You can play 5 or 6, maybe 7 pieces.
I don't think you do play Detroit defense in that lineup though, because you want all of those Detroit players to be getting the points, not the defense.
Okay. I mean, yeah, but they also could put up like 49.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah, exactly. It's 4 interceptions, none of them get returned for a touchdown, and all of a sudden Detroit gets easy touchdowns, then it looks pretty great.
Let's give a 4th clue for the people in the Discord channel. Get yourself a week free of RG Premium.
Just to confirm, you're moving Giants down?
Sorry, say it again?
Giants to stuffing?
Yeah. Giants down to stuffing, Ham all the way up top. We have a team in every single tier. Rings, blue, gold. The 4th clue, I actually went with 2 words here. I broke my rule. 2 words for the 4th clue. Athletic spouse. Athletic spouse is the 4th clue. Rings, blue, gold. Athletic spouse is the 4th clue. Okay. TJ, this game is yours. It's the Patriots and the Bengals. I'm sure Bobby's not happy that he does not get to open the conversation on his Patriots. 50.5 total. That's a big boy total for sure. New England's got one of the biggest team totals on the board, 29. Drake May is expensive. He's pricey, but he's justified. The matchup is prime. The other tricky thing is, like, who do we stack them with? Diggs will be the main guy, but they're also getting healthier. We got Booty. Booty is back. So, they have more options there as far as receivers. Austin Hooper is expected to play. So, Hunter Henry is certainly an interesting tight end option. Tight ends against the Bengals have certainly been a thing. And then the conversation as far as running backs with Ramondre Stevenson coming back. Henderson was awesome in his absence. I do want to, we mentioned Rebar earlier in the show. Before I throw it to you, TJ, I just want to throw out these stats from Rebar. I got this from from the worksheet over there at Sharp Football Analysis. The Bengals are allowing 185 yards per game to running backs, 185, which is 34.2 yards per game more than the next closest team. That's insane. The Bengals have allowed 7 running back one scores over their past 6 games. Again, 7 running back one scores over their past 6 games and 8 top 15 scores over that span. They have allowed a pair of teammates to log top 20 weeks in 3 different games this season. Amazing. That's just insane how bad they've been on the ground. Not to tell you where to go, but I think it's really, really interesting how to handle this New England backfield, and we don't really know. Maybe lean into the unknown of how the carries will be spliced up amongst Henderson and Stevenson. Patriots, Bengals, of course, there is no Joe Burrow. It's Joe Flacco. Burrow probably coming back on Thursday. Chase Brown still projecting very, very well because Piron's out, although running backs against the Patriots have been poor because their run defense has been awesome. And, of course, there's no Jamar Chase. I did not lead with that for some reason. I buried it. But, yeah, TJ, Bengals, Patriots, what do you got?
Patriots, I'm going to put up into stuffing, not quite in the ham tier just because I don't love the full stack kind of going all in on them today because I don't think they're going to really be pushed all that much by the Bengals. And so I got Patriots up and stuffing. I actually think the number one stacking partner with Drake May today is Hunter Henry, just because Cincinnati has been so horrific to tight ends this year. They've been very good to wide receiver ones. And I'm also kind of worried that Diggs isn't going to get that same 90% snap share that he got last week. Don't think they're going to be pushed as much this week. It kind of feels like one where they can ramp him back down, give him some time to chill a little bit, especially with the return of Kayshon Boutte. And so I really like a Drake May, Hunter Henry stack quite a bit today. I'm going to be playing one of them. And then the next one that I think I'd kind of consider like regarding Trevion Henderson is I don't think I'm going to get there personally just because the Ramondre Stevenson of them all, but I don't know that for sure yet. I think if I had, 67, 68, 6,900 remaining, Henderson would be my first choice. I would actually think I'd rather go Henderson than Diggs there even. And I certainly like him more than Jalen Warren, more than Javonte Williams, Ashton Genty in that range. So if I'm in the price range, I'll absolutely play Henderson, but he's not going to be a primary target for me because of Ramondre Stevenson being back.
We're showing currently Henderson on DK at 6% ownership and Stevenson at 1% ownership. I mean, again, this is more of a Bobby question, but I absolutely, I really, really like the idea of probably more Henderson than Stevenson. But I think Stevenson's in play too. Maybe he steals a goal line touchdown or something like that. I still think Henderson's probably the lead guy. I'm going to play Henderson in one of my single entry contests, and he's probably not going to be owned unless some kind of news comes out, some report comes out that he's the lead guy today. But it's too good, and the stats I ran off from Rebar are just amazing. How bad this Bengals defense has been, as far as stopping the run. Bobby, your Patriots stuffing is tier 2 according to.
Hold
TJ.
on, I didn't do Bengals yet. I'll pump that.
Sorry.
I don't want to play Flacco. And so I think I'm going to put the Bengals in. No, I'm going to put him in Turkey because even though I don't really like getting to Flacco, it's a little bit of that same situation as Green Bay, where this team to me is like right in between the mashed potatoes and turkey tier because I don't really want to do the full stack with Flacco. But I think Chase Brown is a great play. Patriots give a ton of receptions to running backs, and that is Chase Brown's bag as long as Samaje Perine is out, and Samaje Perine is out. And so, yes, no one can run against the Patriots, but Chase Brown can't run against anybody. Chase Brown is not an efficient runner. He gets there from volume and from pass catching, and he's got 22 targets in his last 2 games. This feels like a day that over 4.5 receptions is one of my favorite player pops on the slate. This feels like a really, really great day for Chase Brown to catch like 8 passes for 50 yards and then just put a nice built-in floor into his lineup. You can play Flacco if you want. I just don't think I'm getting there personally, but I wouldn't blame you because I think Brown is viable to pair with him. I think T. Higgins is one of the best plays on the slate. And I think you can roll out Andre Yoshivas as a salary saver at 4,100 also. We had some questions about Gesicki. I don't think I'm going to get there, but especially if I was playing Flacco, I would include Gesicki in my stack just because he's only 2,600. You really don't need much from him at that price tag.
I think he's the cheapest of the viable, the most viable at that tier. Brock Wright at 3K, Gesicki's 2.6. If you really have to dig in that area, I guess you could do Austin Hooper on the other side of this game. If you want to tell yourself,
I think Isaiah Likely is viable with no Rashad Bateman. But I would agree probably Gesicki over him, unless I don't think I get to either except for Likely with Lamar or Gesicki with Flacco, but both viable, I think. Sorry,
Bobby, give us your Patriots insights. Do we agree with TJ here or what?
I'm pretty bullish on Hunter Henry and Drake May today, so I'm going to bump the Pats up to Ham. You could also include Diggs in that stack. I don't love Diggs. It's more like May to Henry. And that's the majority of what I'm getting for the Pats, just playing that as a single stack. And then running back, Chase Brown or T. Higgins. Kind of fine where TJ put the Bengals. I think you can make a case for them in stuffing, but I'll just leave them in turkey. I do like Chase Brown a good bit. I like T. Higgins. I think Shavas is a good large field DFS play and maybe a good play for if you're betting TD props today. Just at long odds. Gesicki, I'm going to be under the field on. Not a ton of Gesicki. Want to see where I have Flacco. I'll be over on Flacco, I guess. And yeah, it kind of makes sense. You get still at 5.5. Chase Patriots giving it up to pass catching running backs. It's pretty condensed. T. Higgins, Shavas. So
I'm going to put one Flacco team.
Yeah, I'll be slightly over on Flacco. If Flacco's going to be 2%, I'll be 4, right? I don't know. I'll leave the Bengals in turkey, but bumping the Patriots up.
I have a question for you guys before we go through this, because I'm just looking at guys in the Trevion Henderson price range, and I think the only one who is comparable to me of which one do I choose is Chris Olave. Would you guys go Trevion Henderson or Chris Olave, assuming you have 6,700 left in a flex?
I'd play Henderson. I think he's got the bigger upside. Lower floor.
I think I'd play Olave. I'm flipping Stevenson and Henderson as of right now, whether that changes or not.
Do you think Stevenson gets back? What do you think the split is, if you were to guess?
60-40, closer to 60-40. Henderson to Stevenson could be closer. They want to work in Stevenson. If he's going to be unowned and people are just going to play Henderson, I'll just flip the other side and play some Stevenson at 5,200.
I think no one's playing either of them.
Yeah, I'm going to play both these guys over the field. If you told me I was getting 60% Henderson versus the Bengals, I'm in. If that's correct. That
I don't. Yeah, I guess that might be a bad. I don't know who gets the red zone touches. I still think they're going to try to give Stevenson red zone, which I think may cap Henderson at 6,700 a little bit. And then I like Genty at 6,300. I like Breece Hall at 6,100. Derrick Henry at 7,600. There's guys that I don't have to worry about that aren't in splits that I can play over Henderson. So, for me, Stevenson at 52 just seems like a better play than Henderson.
Okay. Yeah. I think
is that a good breakdown? It's tough because it's carries, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, you have to do some guesswork there. It's the unknown, and I think it's a great day to lean into the unknown in this matchup. So that's what I'm doing.
But I think the majority of the field, if they do that, they're going to play Trevion. And I just think that, who just said it in chat, Donnie Watson, Ramondre will probably get the bulk. He just probably hand in the dirt take there. I could see that being legitimate. I could see Ramondre getting a good bit of the carry, especially if they get a lead. They want to play the big back. I think it was Rebar who was also saying this. So, I've seen this over 20 years of watching the Pats, and Josh McDaniels' offenses. If you look at LeGarrette Blount, Corey Dillon at one point. Like when they get a lead, they're going to want to utilize the big running back. I think Travion makes more sense if they're trailing.
Which they probably won't be, but okay. We got to pick up the pace here tremendously. I've done a bad job as far as clock management. We talked too much about food. The people were right in chat. We never should have talked about the tiers conversation. There's only 2 hours and 20 minutes until kickoff. The next group's coming in.
What tier did you put Patriots in, Dean?
Oh, I agree with Bobby. Give Bobby the point. Keep them in ham. We also have
one other thing I think we should address, because like 4 people just asked questions about it. How do you guys feel about T. Higgins with with Christian Gonzalez on him? I think that was, I can't remember if that was Dago or Rich, but another pick shadow, right? Shutout. I think he doesn't really shadow all that often. Like he typically stays on one side of the field. And so if Higgins is moving around, I don't know that matters. But also T. Higgins is 6'4.5" and a monster. Even if he has an elite corner on him, he can do it. Like if the ball's thrown in the right place, he can do whatever he wants.
I agree with TJ. Like I just trust the projections. Looks like I think Higgins is going to be a good play. I'm not worried about matchup too much.
London had a big game against New England.
The other thing is like I don't love Christian Gonzalez. Like I know everyone thinks he's fantastic, but I'm like on this. I have this like feeling like he's a little bit overrated based on like the Pats fans and just like being in love with their guys.
Well, I think he's more Richard Sherman than Darrelle Revis. He's going to shut down a side of the field and not follow a guy and shut a receiver down.
Yeah, I get that take.
We got to move, boys. Jets, Ravens, Bobby, 44.5 is a total. Another scheduled blowout. Tyrod Taylor quarterbacking the Jets of a 15-team total against the Ravens, who have a 29-team total. Heavy favorites here. Henry looks great. Flowers. This is the perfect spot for Henry, like a 2-touchdown home favorite. This is when you want Derrick Henry. Later in the season, he gets better as the season progresses. Bobby, how do you feel about the Ravens and the Jets? And again, we got to be concise.
Yeah, I like Henry a good bit. Save Flowers a bunch. I'm not playing Lamar. If I had to rank Baltimore, it would probably be I'll probably leave them in the turkey tier. And then on the Jets, I'd put them in mashed potatoes. I like Tyrod. I like Brees. A.D. Mitchell's fine in like large field stuff. Who's their tight end? I don't even know who they're
Jason Taylor's good. Mason.
Yeah, Mason Taylor, I'm fine with. I like Mason Taylor a good bit. So Jets are going to be in mashed potatoes. I could make a case for turkey, but they're the Jets, so I'll just leave them mashed potatoes.
TJ, how do we feel about Bobby's placements?
Going to bump both of these teams up 1. I like getting to a Lamar Jackson stack because you can do it really, really cheap if you're looking at Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, even DeAndre Hopkins. And so I'm going to bump Baltimore up 1. I also really, really like Derrick Henry this week. And then I'm going to bump the Jets up 1 to turkey as well. It's not because I like the Jets. I think the Jets are trash, but it really just comes down to I've been doing this every week, and it's been going pretty darn well all season. When I can get a quarterback under $4,500 and 2 of his receivers for less than $3,500, I don't care what they do because I can get Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Trey McBride, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, or Amon-Ra St. Brown, all of them in the same lineup. And so if Tyrod Taylor just throws 1 or 2 touchdowns, that lineup cashes. If he happens to have a great game, that's how you win a tournament. So I'm going to bump the Jets up to turkey. I would honestly even consider putting them in stuffing.
Give TJ the points.
Oh, wait, am I not? I was giving you the point, Bobby. He sold.
No, I think TJ makes a really good case. TJ the points.
Okay, he gave a really good pitch, and I like his pitch. I just like his pitch for other teams more, but I do like his pitch, and he's right. But I like it more for some different, for like New Orleans, as an example. At least Tyrod can move, but
it's just New Orleans is even more expensive, right? Like if you want to do the same thing you're doing with Tyrod, you have to fade Olave.
Well, I mean, I like having. I don't want to play John Mechie. So,
fair. You can do Mason Taylor though.
Well, yeah, I guess. And then am I doing double tight end? Is that what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I did give TJ the points because Bobby insisted on it. TJ's got 5. Bobby's got 2. We do have a winner, by the way, in Discord. It was very, very close because multiple people kind of got there. Some people guessed the spouse. I think they were thinking along the right line, but they did not get to the actual athlete we're talking about, the superstar, if you will. Shout out to Big Z. I think Big Z is a multiple-time winner. 5th clue will drop just for fun. We'll give some clarity on that momentarily. Kick is the 5th clue. Rings, blue, gold, athletic spouse, and kick. And it makes sense considering it all ties together when you consider what our tiers category is as well. TJ,
I don't know if you noticed that, but earlier in the week, Iowa Boy and Big Zid, they gave the exact same answer, like a half second apart.
Yeah.
And the exact same thing happened, but Big Zid beat Iowa Boy this time.
There you go. And I love that you're saying Zed. I know that's a Canadian thing.
His name's Big Zid. Zidiot is the name.
Oh, I thought you were saying how you pronounce Z in Canada.
No, Big Z, ZYW is pronounced Zid.
Okay, but like the letter Z, how do you pronounce the letter Z in Canada?
We pronounce it Zed in Canada, but this is like his name is Zid with like ZYW is pronounced like ZID.
Last of the 1 o'clock games, it's the Colts. That's a Chief. It's super, super important for Kansas City. Kansas City on the bubble, on the outside looking in as far as the playoffs. TJ, are we going to get super Patrick Mahomes today? 27 team total, pretty big total on the board collectively at 50.5. Kansas City and the Colts. No Pacheco, by the way. Jonathan Taylor on the other side of the game. Best running back in football this year. Not being played today because of salary reasons. Kansas City, Indianapolis. Go for it, TJ.
I think we certainly could get super Patrick Mahomes today. I'm not overly confident that we do, but I think this is a pretty good spot regardless. I'm going to bump them up in stuffing. I am getting to a little bit of Patrick Mahomes today, not a ton. That's probably one of the people I'm most afraid of being underweight on. But Rashee Rice, get a little Travis Kelce, and you can even go with one of those cheap receivers as a stacking partner if you want as well. Say you're playing a Millie Maker, maybe you stack him with a 4K Brashard Smith. But I'm going to pump the Kansas City Chiefs up into stuffing. And then the Colts, I'm going to put them in mashed potatoes. I think, sure, if you're running a lot of lineups, maybe you can get a couple stacks. I'm not doing that personally, but just out of respect for Jonathan Taylor, I'm going to put him in mashed potatoes.
Bobby?
Yeah, Chiefs, I'm going to put in ham. I like Rashee Rice a good bit today. Also Travis Kelce. Mahomes, with no running game, you're taking away Pacheco. I know he's run more probably because Rashee Rice was out, but I still think he uses his legs today. Also opportunity with DeForest Buckner to throw downfield more to guys like Xavier Worthy. So Chiefs and ham for me. Colts and mashed potatoes is perfectly fine. I'm not playing Jonathan Taylor. I don't love any of these weapons. Daniel Jones is fine, but Tyler Warren, I think, would be my favorite pairing with Daniel Jones. And I'm not getting a ton of, maybe Alec Pierce would be.
That's what I would go with. I like Pierce. I like them both, but I think Pierce is my favorite. More because he's a receiver, I guess, than anything. That's like the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I don't love Daniel Jones. He's fine, but he'll be in my pool, but I'm not going crazy to get to him or any of these Colts guys for that matter.
Aaron Rodgers out.
Okay. Yeah, he gave the middle finger and everything, but he did it with the right hand, which was a tell, right? So I'm going to agree with TJ. I think stuffing is high enough for Kansas City. I think it's high enough. I wouldn't put him in the top tier. So it's looking like a blowout. TJ up 6-2 currently. First time playing, TJ. Look at that. Beginner's luck. It's not over just yet. You got to play some defense. We're in the late window. Again, we got to go a little bit faster. Jags, Cardinals. Bobby, this is you. 47.5 is the total. Once again, you got the Arizona stuff pretty cheap. No Marvin as well. Wilson, his price got bumped up, but probably not enough. Terry McBride, he got bumped up, probably not enough. Definitely not on DK, but on FanDuel did adjust. So FanDuel's a little bit tougher to get him over there, but obviously a huge priority. Bobby, Jags, Cardinals, what say you?
Yeah, I know this team is going to be very popular, the Arizona side, which I'm fine with. I think it's super condensed now. Michael Wilson, I have no issue going back to Michael Wilson, not because he's good at football or anything, but they're just super condensed. I know the Jags have a good pass defense. He's not terrible at football, and the price tag's pretty good at $4,800, so I can be overweight Michael Wilson. Definitely gonna be slightly under on Trey McBride today, it looks like, which I don't love. Oh wait, that's not necessarily true. I'm going to be over on Trey McBride too. So I didn't account for the flex, but in the tight end slot, I'm probably going to be under. I'm going to put. I just don't love them. Like I have Brissett at the field. I'm going to play. I'm going to put Arizona in stuffing, which is a horrible take, and I'm going to lose this again because. But let me just I'm going to put Arizona in ham. I'm putting Arizona in ham. I'm not just going to get blown out.
You're trying to beat the spread?
Yeah, I'm trying to beat the spread here. The Jags, I don't know what to do with the Jags. Like ETN, is he losing reps to Tootin? Like he should be at some point. I like Jacoby Myers. I don't know what Jacoby Myers' ceiling is, but I'm fine with him. I'm fine with Parker Washington.
Isn't he a terrible tournament play, Jacoby Myers?
He's a horrible tournament play.
He never gets there. He always projects pretty well.
The narrative is like he's this horrible tournament play, but they're condensed too. So like
his quarterback stinks.
His quarterback does stink. I'm going to put them in Turkey. They're going to go in Turkey for me. The Jags.
TJ, any adjustments for you? We have in Turkey, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then we have in ham. Bobby kind of pressured himself to put them up to the top tier, anticipating what you were going to do. I'm not sure, but he was kind of dilly-dallying as far as the 1 or 2 slots. Any adjustments?
I think I'm just going to leave it. I don't like Jacksonville. I'm not playing Jacksonville, but the projections like them, and I could absolutely be wrong, and I don't feel confident enough about it to bump anything.
Blocking.
Is good strategy. Is Lawrence still projecting pretty well? He is, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at the ownership stuff, is he like 3rd most popular according to our projections? I don't know if that's going to sustain.
And like one of these Jacksonville running backs is probably going to have a good game, but they both just had like minor injury things throughout the week that last week it looked like Tootin was going to take over, but we truly don't know.
Which I'm the tournament guy here with this thought. I think you got to be over on both, and over is not hard. Tootin's 3% and Etienne is 7%. If I'm running 100 lineups and I'm running 20 today, but 4 or 5 main ones, and I think you're supposed to be over on both. What's that?
That's exactly what I'm playing too.
And I'm going to play Tootin more than Etienne. He's 4.6. And he looks like he has more juice to me. Well, I test whatever dopey person on the couch. But I love that price, and I'm going to be over on both, I think. But I think it's an interesting idea to it's not hard to be over on both those guys is the point. And one of them should probably get you there, I think. Okay. Oh boy, this should be a catch me up game, I believe. Cleveland and the Raiders, 36.5 is the total. I guess they're factoring in defensive touchdowns. That still seems kind of high to me. But TJ, you're going first, and I believe you're already you're showing your hand if people are watching the screen. Shador Sanders getting the start, first career start against Geno. Again, 36.5 total. Well, wait, you're making some adjustments, TJ. You just second guessed yourself. You remember
if he wants to knock that one down, but since I am playing, I in good conscience cannot put a team in good green bean casserole if I am playing a stack of them. And I have one Shador Sanders team in 20 lineups with Judy and Tillman, and so that I can load up everywhere else. And so I got to put them in mashed potatoes. But both these teams suck. Both these teams suck. You don't have to play either of them.
Thanks for the point, TJ.
Jordan waiting in the wings, by the way, says, but Shador has mentored Deshaun Watson at the game. I haven't been following that. Is that a joke? Is that actually his mentor? Is he actually going to be at the game? I don't know. But I don't know if that matters or not. But yeah, Bobby, I guess you're just going to throw Cleveland back down in the gutter and hang out with the green bean casserole. Is that correct?
Yep. I like the defenses. Raiders D, I think, is the best bet on the slate. And then Browns is going to be the chalk. So, yeah, they're both fine.
So apparently this is the first time Watson has traveled with the team. Have they exiled him, or is that his choice? He's never been with the team. That seems weird. A lot of times, if you're injured, you're rehabbing, things like that. But a lot of times, your players will still travel. It's okay. But this is his first time making the road trip. I don't know if that's going to factor in or not. But
wants to go to Vegas.
That's actually a great point. That's an excellent point. He's hanging out with CeeDee Lamb somewhere, having a good time. Didn't think of that, but that does. There you go. That makes a ton of sense. Okay. So, yeah, I do agree with Bobby. I want both teams in the gutter. I love both defenses here. And I do think this is a week where I'm stressing to get defenses. I'm trying to get good defenses because I think we're going to get a separator this week. It just
I built 8 lineups of my 20 so far, and my only 3 defenses are Browns, Saints, Seahawks.
Yeah. Well, Saints will get. They're the cheap one that lines up against Cousins. They're not the best defense. They're in a dome, no elements, but they're facing Kirk Cousins, who we're pretty sure, most likely is washed. He's put out some terrible, terrible tape. 2 more games to go. Well, let's give clarity as far as today's. And like TJ said, we're probably going to start just a couple minutes late for the next grouping because we're running a little bit long. But again, plenty of time. I see Jordan's hanging out in chat. Beimfohr, Neil, they'll be here shortly. But today's Superstar Sunday, the 5 clues. And I didn't want to make it. I was hoping nobody would kind of get in my brain and figure out whom I'm going to play because of the tiers. A lot of times I will correlate them. I did today. First clue was rings. This person won. Now, I was hoping people would think championship rings, but this person actually won a different kind of ring. They won.
Josh Jacobs ruled out. Sorry to interrupt you. We'll cover that after, but he is officially out.
Yeah. We kind of figured that. I'm glad we projected that. This person won Olympic rings. Won Olympics multiple times. And, there are Olympic rings. There are 5 of them. Clue 2 was blue, which is a reference to their college uniform, Carolina blue, North Carolina, if you want to get all technical. And, of course, they wore the red, white, and blue for the United States of America. Clue number 3 was gold. They won gold for the United States of America. And, the first 3 clues were not perfect, but we kind of got you there, gave you a boost with athletic spouse. There's always so many of those. As far as some pairings, I saw somebody guess Andre Agassi, who I believe is still with Steffi Graf. But and I didn't want to say husband or wife because I wanted to keep that open. And, athletic spouse, who Bobby's familiar with, I imagine, in some capacity. Nomar Garcia-Parra. And clue 5 was kick, which is kind of on the nose. This, of course, is famous Olympian soccer player.
Mia Hamm.
There you go. And why Hamm, Bobby? Why Mia Hamm? Why did I pick Mia?
Because Hamm is the top of the
look at you.
The chart there.
Yeah, there you go. See, this is it all comes full circle. Philadelphia and Dallas, 47.5 is the total. Philadelphia is a 3-point favorite here. This is such a weird one because I as the week has progressed, I don't love this game, and I feel like I should. We love Dallas, picking on Dallas, playing Dallas. Dallas is expensive. Their defense got better. Philadelphia without their top center, which really drastically hurts their offense as well. I know Brown and Smith are both really, really cheap. TJ, the board is this is Bobby's. Bobby, Philadelphia and Dallas. Open it up for us.
Yeah, I know Dean's not gonna like this, but I like Philly pretty high up there. I'm gonna put Philly in Ham. I like Devontae Smith, AJ Brown. I like the Philly passing game this week. Tight ends, I like Goddard. No, it doesn't look like I'm getting a ton of Goddard. Mainly Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts. I have a good bit of interest in. I'm kind of under on Saquon, which is not the greatest, but Philly goes in Ham for me, and then Dallas Cowboys. No, not getting to any Dallas really. I'm really not trying to find.
Too expensive?
Javonte Williams, very not a ton. I'm trying to find CD. I'm just going down the list here. Not a ton of run backs with CD. Is it Ferguson that's the one that I'm getting to? Must be Ferguson. No, not getting a ton of run backs on the Dallas side. That's so weird. In terms of Dallas, because I just don't seem to be getting to any of them, I'm going to put Dallas in very low. We'll go just because they are Dallas mashed potatoes. But, yeah.
All right. By the way, chat's questioning if Mia Hamm is a superstar. She's very much a superstar. One of the greatest women's soccer players of all time. American soccer players. Abby Wambach. You'd also throw Alex Morgan into the conversation, but she's definitely on that Mount Rushmore. Of course, she's a superstar. Not even a conversation. But yeah, TJ, your issues here: Philadelphia in tier 1 in ham, and Dallas in mashed potatoes. I feel like people aren't playing Dallas, and I kind of understand why, but I'm curious what you're doing with it.
I have nothing to add, but I will say Mia Hamm is no Christine Sinclair, Dean.
Mia Hamm was like the face of women's soccer during the height of women's soccer.
Like 10 years, yeah. She had a big window, yeah. You know, I'm sure stats had probably been surpassed by Alex Morgan or Wambach. I'm not sure. I can't tell you that off the top of my head. And but Marta was a really good international player, Brazil, I think. But yeah, come on, she's a superstar. And was that a Canadian woman you mentioned, TJ? I assume, yes.
Christine Sinclair, yeah, she has the most goals in women's soccer history.
Okay, that sounded familiar. I'm aware of her existence, and I thought she was. And Canada and the U.S. have a pretty good rivalry with women's soccer. But go ahead, continue. Finish your thoughts.
I have no thoughts. I agree with everything Bobby said. This is where I got him. I think Cowboys deserve to be in mashed potatoes just because Dak Prescott, Lamb, Pickens is going to be so low owned. But other than that, like these are right.
So you are going to agree with Bobby. We have one more to go. We'll recap the tiers in a second. The last one. Well, TJ, look at you. You lucked out. You get to talk about your Saints. 40.5 is the total. We've kind of mentioned Chuck a couple times throughout the show. Olave, Juwan Johnson, you kind of referenced as well. Kamara's got a lot of touches, at least. I don't know how much juice he has left there. And this Atlanta offense we saw, at least in a small sample, Cousins has looked absolutely horrendous. And no Drake London makes things worse. I guess you can talk yourself into some Darnell Mooney, which he's getting some hype. And, you know, I got some best ball shares of that. I know people want the best ball takes for sure, but it's been a tough, rough season for him. To be fair, he was injured to start out the gate. Pitts is another potential cheapie, especially on FanDuel. He's got a pretty good price over there. But TJ, Falcons, Saints, last game. What do you got?
Yeah, as crazy as it sounds, I actually am going to put the Saints up in stuffing. I think they are really nice stack today. This Falcons defense has been struggling. They're really cheap. I like the Saints defense fair amount. Shuck, Olave, Juwan Johnson, and if you want to get crazy, you can play some Devon Vele. I'm going to put the Falcons in mashed potatoes. I think Bijan Robinson is an incredible play, and I don't want to touch anybody else on this team. Sure, I mean, like, I think people are going to play Mooney and Pitts, but I don't care about either of them.
Atlanta in the 4th tier, Bobby. The Saints in tier 2. TJ's playing all willy-nilly. He knows the game's already locked up. He's up 6-2, so he can do whatever he wants. How do you feel about the Saints in stuffing and the Falcons in mashed potatoes?
I have pretty much the same take, so I don't really have much to add. I like Pitts a little more than TJ. I'm sure TJ likes Juwan Johnson. Those tight ends I find interesting. Olave is another guy like I don't mind having exposure to on the Saints, like Tyler Shuck. So they're fine where they are. And then Atlanta's great and Matt is fine in mashed potatoes. I really like Bijan, but that's outside of him and like Pitts. Like I don't like really have much interest in the Falcons. I do think Bijan has a big game this week though.
Is that an ownership thing? Is that a matchup thing as far as Bijan? Both?
Probably both. I kind of prefer Bijan is probably my favorite running back on the slate. Just because, like, if you think about it, Gibbs is slightly cheaper. He's going to be more owned. And then you have Montgomery working in there, and I think Montgomery probably gets in the box, so he probably takes away a little from Gibbs. And I just hate playing dual backfield, so I'd rather just play Bijan for the 200 more if the field's going to side with Gibbs for 200 less in a dual backfield.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much that changed until you brought it up, Bobby. Like, earlier in the week, Bijan was almost double Gibbs' ownership, and now Gibbs is higher.
Like, I think Bijan's probably the best running back play on the slate. If that matters for stacks, like, you can boost Atlanta, but I think
TreVeyon Henderson is. I've talked myself into that one.
You're the last person who I would think would want to be playing, like, a dual backfield that's not Jahmyr Gibbs, that doesn't have Jahmyr Gibbs in it, but whatever. I'm
factoring in the ownership and the opponent and the skill and the unknown. I think all that stuff compounded, and we're going to get less than 10% on Henderson. And, if he gets 50%, and I think 50% seems kind of conservative, I think. I don't do these things, but Stevenson maybe didn't fully lose his job, but 50-50 is certainly an interesting that's kind of where I'm at. And again, I ran off the stats. It's that Rebar had, over at Sharp Football, and it's incredible how much this Bengals team has been absolutely ravaged on the ground. Let me recap the board. TJ wins, by the way. TJ does win the board. I ranked Thanksgiving foods. Some people didn't like it, which is fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Ham, of course, is tier 1. 4 teams. We're very, we spliced them up pretty much perfectly. Everybody pretty evenly split. 4 teams in Ham. That's the Lions, the Patriots, Arizona, Philadelphia hit that tier 1. Tier 2, the Giants, Baltimore, Kansas City, and the Saints. Did I not make any adjustments? I guess I didn't, but that's fine. We'll keep the Saints in stuffing. Tier 3 right in the middle, Turkey, Seattle, Cincinnati, Jets, Jags, and then we have mashed potatoes in tier 4. That is Chicago, Green Bay, Colts, Dallas, Atlanta. The gutter all the way down in tier 5, green bean casserole, is Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Minnesota, and the 2 teams that are squaring off today in Vegas. That is the Raiders and the Browns. Do want to mention before we bring in the next grouping, if you want a 3-day pass, you can get 3 days access to everything you need to crush the slate. You'll get our optimizer tool, lineup HQ, projections, player projections, ownership percentage. You get the articles, the bells, the whistles, everything you could think of. Less than $10, $9.99. And also SimLabs as well, which is one of the best, easiest ways to build smart, competitive lineups in seconds, just a few clicks. If you're interested in extending longer than 3 days, you can get yourself Combo Pro for a limited time. It's $79.99 for your first month. That's not just football, baseball, basketball, college football, PGA, MMA, anything you can think of with the exception of NASCAR. Do not miss your opportunity on that. All this links are in the description. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Also, I need Bobby's slate breaker. Bobby, I want 2 things. Give me your favorite stack, and if you want to go individual favorite slate breaker, so both favorite stack and who is breaking the slate. Feel free to be as ambitious as you want to be.
Favorite stack? I think Bijan's my slate breaker. I'm just going to go with Bijan. Favorite stack? Tough. Probably between Philly and KC. I just can't figure out which one. So one of the two. I guess KC, but Philly gives you like late swap equity when everyone's going to play this Detroit team, which makes a ton of sense. But if it's more the running backs in Detroit and Jared Goff doesn't get there, like that's why I kind of like Philly.
TJ, see it, raise it.
I will see it with Trey McBride because I'm going to be playing him in probably 90% of my lineups today, even though that's a very chalky piece. I'm going to be well overweight. How I raise it is by saying Jameis Winston will also be breaking the slate.
Woo! And your favorite pairing with that's your favorite stack, the Giants? Is that also you're kind of saying?
Detroit Giants game stack is my favorite stack. Doesn't matter to me if it's Goff or Winston. Just load up on that game.
I would much prefer Winston on that side.
Well, how many players are you willing to play?
Winston is my favorite.
TJ, are you willing to play 6, 7? How many are you willing to play in that game? And you can include the defense as a player if you want, even though it's 11.
Winston, Wandale, Slayton, or Theo, but I guess you could even do both. Gibbs, Amon-Ra, 7. 7 would be my max.
Who's your favorite Lion, TJ? And Dean, give me your favorite Lion too, because you're playing all Lions instead on every team.
David Montgomery, I think.
I think Lion is interesting, just for what
I
it's
think J-Mo is mine.
I like some salary, so it's probably Montgomery. But I like J-Mo more than Brown probably as well. But
I think I like J-Mo more than Brown too.
Of course, I like Brown more, but salary is a thing.
Yeah, salary. That's
what. We live in the world of a salary cap. And Amon-Ra is due for a bounce back. He had a really, really rough game in the box score last week. Oh, I think he did have like 10 passes thrown his way, but tough environment. There was wind as well. All right, boys, we did it. Let's go ahead. Let's seamlessly segue to the next grouping. We have Erik, we have Neil, We have Jordan chomping at the bits. Let's seamlessly segue right now. Always curious what jersey Jordan is wearing today.
It's a Geno Smith in honor of the game that we're going to get in Cleveland and Las Vegas on top of probably Seattle dominating the Titans.
Wow. Interesting. What were the odds on a Geno Smith jersey? Like -5, like 501 or so. Unless you had inside information, I would definitely would have crossed that one out. But did you once? I assume you won a GPP at some point with Geno a couple years ago.
Yeah, I kept stacking Geno against the Lions when those games were really fun. Like those 2 to 3 years that back to back every week was fun. But Geno, it's funny. Last week I wore Ayuk and his contract got voided. So I'm hoping that doesn't carry towards Geno.
This is like the new Madden curse, is what you're saying?
It might be.
What's up, Jordan? Jordan? What's up, Neil? Eric? How are things? Everything good?
Yeah, can't complain.
Didn't expect Browns Raiders to be the first game mentioned when we popped on here with Jordan, but maybe that means it's going to be a fun show.
We're leading with defense, Eric. I think that's what we're doing. We're leading with defense. Maybe
it's about the only thing I can get right the last couple of weeks. So, maybe we should start there.
Well, I mean, I think defense is actually really important today, but again, who the hell knows? And how do you predict defensive touchdowns? But it's pretty well set up for Cleveland and Vegas. All right, we did our work. Myself, Bobby Gomes, TJ Zwarych. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Don't go anywhere. Still almost 2 hours until kickoff. Beimfohr, take the wheel.
Shout out to Dean and, of course, the People Show, TJ behind the scenes, everything. And chat's already on fire, so we're going to have a fun one today. GPP Final Takes. If you've not joined us before, welcome. Where have you been? It's a wonderful slate. We got Coors Field back today. The Lions, the Bengals. We got a bunch of injuries and players missing, and we're going to cover all of that stuff. We're going to get actives and inactives here in just a few minutes. We'll cover that, of course. Drop any questions, comments, whatever you have in the chat. We will hit as many of your questions as we can throughout the course of the show. We'll kind of bounce around if you haven't joined us before. We're not necessarily going to go game by game or position by position, though we'll kind of hit all of that stuff. We're going to try to hit the most important things from a tournament perspective that you need to cover to get your lineups ready, right, in the next couple of hours. Neil, we always try to start with like sort of a theme-ish of the slate, like right when I open up DraftKings.com or FanDuel.com and I start messing around trying to make some lineups. What is it that like I'm thinking about when I first start, right? And for me, it's a little bit of, I kind of hit on it. We have a couple of spots back that we kind of haven't really had on the main slate in recent weeks. This Bengals defense, right, which is just like a play everyone against the Bengals defense always. And the Lions I love Lions bounce back weeks, right? And this is another one where it's like, my God, how many points are the Lions going to score? But then we have a bunch of other stuff, right? Like Jamar Chase out, Aaron Rodgers out, Ramondre Stevenson returns for that Patriots thing, which throws a wrinkle into stuff. It looks like Josh Jacobs is out today, right? Drake London and Michael Penix. There's a bunch of moving pieces and then kind of some of these good spots that it's a little bit, I found it a little tricky to figure out like on a lineup to lineup basis, how to like make it all work.
Yeah, no, you kind of hit on my favorite two teams right away in the Patriots and the Lions. I think I'm going deeper into the Patriots than most people seem to be. That's kind of the biggest angle that I'm playing on the slate is just like, yeah, I'm going to play all the Patriots. I'm going to be overweight on every single one of them. And if the Patriots score 6 touchdowns, I will probably be in for a good day. And if they don't, then maybe not quite so much. So yeah. And then the other theme is that we have a lot of like teams that look awesome in like they're facing bad defenses. They're expected to score a lot of points, but then we're not expecting any kind of pushback on the other side. We have that with the Ravens, the Lions. I think we have a couple other spots here as well. So it's just the Seahawks. So it's kind of how much are you going to lean on teams that, or quarterbacks in particular, that maybe aren't going to get a lot of resistance from the other side. You know, we all think, well, Dan Campbell, he's just going to continue to throw and put up a lot of points on the Giants because they are in a bounce back week. So we all want to play Dan Campbell, or we all want to play Jared Goff and the Lions. But can we do the same thing with Sam Darnold coming off a 4 interception game? Like, does Sam Darnold want to like get right here in this spot? Can you think maybe they just continue to throw it to JSN in the second half to be like, no, that was not Sam Darnold last week. That he's not the guy who sucked the last couple of games of the season last year. He is still a good quarterback. So it's fun playing a lot of different angles on this slate of just like how much do you want to get into game environments, how much do you want to just lean on individual players. It's a unique slate.
I love that, and also a perfect segue. It's like Neil's done this before. Jordan has a Seahawks jersey on, and he's just perfectly segues into someone with a Seahawks jersey. But I actually hadn't thought about the Darnold thing, and I like that a lot. It's just another wrinkle in this slate, Jordan. That's like, I think you can go a lot of different directions, but there are some of those situations where like a lot of teams are going to score a lot of points. Do you get them right? Or I don't know. Do the Patriots only score 20 points or something today? Hey, technically anything is possible. Like, how do we manage all these different moving pieces?
Yeah, I think the main point is figuring out the Lions. Like, they're the starting point for me. I don't like Dan Campbell coming out and saying we need to get David Montgomery more touches. That was something that I was just like, oh man, this is going to be one of those games where you have every Lion score 20. That would be a very funny like instance where Amon-Ra, JMO, and like since Dan Campbell's taken over play calling, Jameson Williams has become a good player again. And he's finally like, hey, we're going to use this guy on crossing routes. We're not just going to send him on goes, and we're going to actually use him over the middle of the field, which has killed Amon-Ra. Like, from his production, everybody's like, he's been struggling lately. It's like, well, he's not getting the over the middle of the field work that he dominated. But with Sam Laporta being out, this team kind of has a lot more concentrated targets. So it's interesting. I think with Baltimore, the data that I've just found all week on Zay Flowers, I think that's one of my leans on the slate, one of my bigger leans. And then with Seattle, I hate that he popped up on the injury report, but I still love Kenneth Walker. He finally had a pretty good game against the Rams. He finally got goal line touches against the Rams, and then the coach coming out and saying he's kind of earned more opportunities. I'm intrigued to see if that trend continues against the Titans defense that like they give up explosive running plays. That's how they don't give up, chunk yardage. They give up 50-yard touchdowns, and that is what Kenneth Walker is. And at 5'4", pivot off of Manuel Wilson chalk right now. And then on top of it, the other person that I think is really bad chalk, Chase Brown. Patriots haven't allowed a guy go over like 60 yards all year. I think last week was the first time that happened, and it just was a running quarterback. I know Chase Brown's been really good lately, but I'm terrified of a 29% Chase Brown against a Patriots defense that's as elite as it gets against the run.
Yeah, let's start with that game, Neil, and then we'll come back to the Lions because I think those are probably two of the situations we're all really prioritizing. Let's start Chase Brown. It's kind of funny because we're all like, oh, the Bengals, we got to attack the Bengals, and the highest owned player in this game is a Bengal, not a Patriot, because you get it, right? He's reasonably priced. We're in kind of last year's situation again with Chase Brown, with no Samaje Perine, where he's getting the passing down work. He's really not leaving the field. Taj got one touch maybe last, right? Taj Brooks is like, if Chase Brown like is really, really winded, Taj might get into the game, but that's about it. How do you think about that? With the matchup is bad. Like, this is an objectively bad matchup. I understand Milton Williams is out. But like Mike Vrabel for how many years in Tennessee and now in New England, this is what they do, right? They shut down the run. How much does that matter to you? Like, especially as a large field player, how much Chase Brown are you getting to? And then we can kind of start to move on to the rest of the pieces of the game.
It matters to me quite a bit because he's getting so much ownership. Like, if we had Chase Brown coming in at 5% ownership, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? They usually stop the run pretty well, but here without Milton Williams, I'll lean into the uncertainty of the defense getting a little bit worse. But because he's being played by a third of the field, I'm with Jordan. Like, this is not chalk that I want to be over the field on. I'm not like full fading or anything. Obviously, I play 150 lineups, and I don't usually take like huge stands like that. But I'll probably be down at like 20% exposure to maybe 15% exposure to Chase Brown. Like, he is not one of the running backs that I find myself prioritizing on the slate. And there are a number of running backs that I think I like kind of significantly better than the field. So yeah, Chase Brown, I do think that I will be underweight on. If he burns me by getting, 10 catches and getting to 22 fantasy points without scoring a touchdown, I guess so be it. But I think that there's a lot of room for Chase Brown to fail here in a really tough matchup. If he just catches, 6 balls for 30 yards and doesn't score a touchdown and gets 50 yards on the ground, like you don't really want him in your lineup. So I will be underweight on Chase Brown. Then you obviously, like you said, you have T. Higgins with no Jamar Chase. Obviously looks pretty good. 7,100 might get that Christian Gonzalez shadow, which has not been the worst thing this year. Christian Gonzalez, I think, is pretty good and could, affect him some, but not getting crazy high ownership. 7,100, not really prohibitive. So I do like T. Higgins a bit. I think I might actually end up over the field if he's only going to get, mid-teens ownership. Yoshivas, I think, is in play. I think that's the only other wide receiver I'll get to on the Bengals. Not like a huge priority for me, but it does set up well to be a Yoshivas game here. 4,100 looks fine. I would like him a lot better if he was 3,100, obviously. But at 4,100, I think that Yoshivas is.
What has he done to even get to 4,100? I think
they just priced them. I think they just took all their prices and said, all right, no Jamar Chase, $1,000 up. It seems kind of what they did. But then Mike Gesicki also, like last year when we had T. Higgins missing games, Mike Gesicki was awesome. This is Scott Barrett and I talked about this yesterday. He brought him up and I was like, hadn't really thought much about Gesicki. It's really the concern is like, how much is he going to play? But like
first game back. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like a slam dunk play to me. He's not like my favorite tight end in the slate, but at 2,600, just given how good he was last year, like the targets he was getting last year with T. Higgins out, you would think the same kind of applies with Jamar Chase out. So I think Gesicki also in play for me for the Bengals. But yeah, none of them are like huge priorities for me on the Bengals side. I think T. Higgins is my favorite of the group.
What do you think about the Bengals side, Jordan? Other than I know you kind of hinted on your Chase Brown take, and I know like the chat, like it's always hard to discuss these because not one of us would argue like, oh yeah, like you can't. What an LOL! Someone played Chase Brown. Like no, of course, like he's going to get a lot of work. He has a really high floor, and I agree, he is going to catch passes, right? But like that's like I don't want to play a third of the field has this guy. He's 6,200, and he's like James White. Like, I don't want, you know what I mean? Like, my upside case is like people, well, he might catch 10 passes. I'm like, he might. He also might not. Like, that's a lot of passes, dude. You know what I mean? Like, even if they throw 40 times, that's a 25% target share for a running back. That's obscene. And he had to catch all of them. So it's like the ownership angle to me. It's not like the floor. Yep, for sure. But I think when there's pathways to failure for a really, really, really popular piece and the matchup is not good, like I said, I don't think you like have to fade. In like game stacks and stuff, I think he's pretty interesting. But like as a solo one-off Chase Brown, like you're stacking the Lions or something and you have Chase Brown, it's of much less interest to me.
It's on top of it, like I think New England kind of takes the air out of this game. Like without Jamar Chase, this is a much worse team. They're not going to have success getting first downs here and there. And the Patriots, like teams have thrown to running backs against Patriots. Bijan Robinson had 8 catches for 50 yards. Like it wasn't like, oh, Bijan Robinson got you, 25 because he caught 8 passes after. Like if I told you Bijan Robinson caught 8 passes, you'd probably be like, what do you get? 120? like Bijan Robinson getting that type of work would be incredible. They've given up 3 touchdowns all year to running backs. Like the running back position has 3 touchdowns. It's the fewest in the league. But again, outside of him just getting to the chalk, I think Oshivas is a really good play from just a game theory. Like he's gonna get a lot of targets. He's also a good way of like Chase Brown doesn't get 10 targets because Oshivas got 10 targets. Like that's kind of a way to play it. T. Higgins is just a little too pricey for me. Like I'm fine with playing him. I think I would rather play T. Higgins at half the ownership of Chase Brown, a little bit priced up in a Drake May run back, than play Chase Brown in that spot. And then on the Patriots side, I think they're super intriguing. The one matchup that I love the most is Hunter Henry. I mean, you just look at the Bengals game log against tight ends, and Josh McDaniels is all about matchups. That's what he's done historically. Like, I would be very surprised to not see the Patriots at least throw 2 touchdowns to tight ends today, whether that's both to Hunter Henry or one to maybe Austin Hooper, or if he's out, I don't know. I remember him being a little bit banged up than someone else. Like, I fully expect them to be throwing touchdowns to tight ends today. And then I think the field just being so out on TreVeyon Henderson makes him such a fun time. Like, because he doesn't need much. All he needs is the explosive play, and they give it up all the time. So.
We made it not quite 25 minutes before we got to the TreVeyon Henderson section. I went on vacation and missed the 2 huge games, and we got back and he's playing the Bengals, but Ramondre is coming back. It's like the fantasy gods are just trolling me, right? If I play him, Ramondre gets 20 carries. you know what I mean, to Trayvon's like 6. And if I don't play him, it's like, yeah, you idiot. Didn't you see what he just did for the last 2 weeks? Of course they gave him the whole backfield. I think he's one of the most like polarizing decisions though on the slate, Neil. Like if he really did right, and I always kind of subscribe to like the whole like you can't put the genie back in the bottle type situation, where when some especially young talented player that they drafted at the top of the second round like breaks out in such a meaningful way, like he's not going to have the whole backfield, right? But like he's kind of like Jahmyr Gibbs light is what we're looking for. Hyper efficiency in a split backfield. He catches passes, he can hit home runs. But like how much is that worth for you at 6,700 on DraftKings, given the matchup is so good?
Yeah, it really is so dependent on ownership. And like if I could like just see the ownership on one spot today, it would be TreVeyon Henderson, because I've seen him projected for 4% ownership. I've seen him projected for 14% ownership, and he was going in the first round of underdog drafts in the dog bowl this week. So I'm like, if he comes in at 24% ownership, I'm probably not going to feel that great about all of my TreVeyon Henderson exposure, but I plan on playing a lot of TreVeyon Henderson because, again, his range of projected ownership is 4 to 14%. If he comes in at 4%, I would want 40%. If he comes in at 14, I would want 22 or something. I think that he's good at either of those ownership numbers. Yeah, I think like you said, there is some chance that he just retains like 65% of the workload. Not even doesn't even need to be like that's their plan going forward. But with Ramondre Stevenson coming back from injury this game, it could be like at this point we're not going to give Ramondre the full workload. And yeah, against the Bengals, like we've seen much worse running backs have a lot of success. This has been just the one thing I go back to every week. Last week, Jaylen Warren, it didn't work out because he got hurt. And then you just see Kenneth Gainwell score 2 touchdowns. Like every single week, running backs hit against the Bengals. So the way I'm playing this one is I'm not just, again, I said I'm going to go super deep on the Patriots. I'm not just going to TreVeyon Henderson. I'm also going to Ramondre Stevenson, coming in at 3% ownership. And that one I believe, like nobody wants to play Ramondre Stevenson. There's obviously risk with Ramondre Stevenson coming back from a toe injury. People kind of expecting him to not play a full workload. He might not, but also we've seen Mike Vrabel just lean on Ramondre Stevenson, really loves the guy. And this sets up as a really nice matchup for Ramondre Stevenson. Like you can just get 10 yards at a time against this Bengals team, even if you're not a big breakaway guy. So I love me some Ramondre Stevenson. Also, I'm going to be well over the field, I think, on both Patriots running backs, leaning in there quite a bit. Jordan brought up Hunter Henry. Now, I did an underdog show on Tuesday and went on and on about how much I love Hunter Henry. And then Eric, I know you still have an eliminator team remaining also. The most tilting thing possible happened to me where I am playing against a team that has like all the same players as me, except I have Trey McBride. They have much better quarterbacks, better team than mine overall. But I'm looking at them like this team has too many players like in all the positions. Get down to tight end. They have one tight end, and it is Hunter Henry against the Bengals. The most tilting thing possible to me. I fully expect Hunter Henry to score 2 touchdowns today. So I will at least have a lot of him in DFS. I love Hunter Henry this week, just like the ideal matchup, and like not getting crazy high ownership because he just hasn't really done that much for several weeks. But like we know how good Hunter Henry can be. Like he's a pretty strong fantasy producer. This is like the perfect matchup for a tight end. So I love Hunter Henry this week. And then wide receiver, again, I like 4 wide receivers on the Patriots to varying degrees, and you don't have to play a ton of most of them to get over the field. I'll be over the field, I think, on Stephon Diggs. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the cornerback DJ Turner. I know is a shutdown. Like they typically wide receiver ones tend to struggle against the Bengals, but I'm not sure if that's going to apply to Diggs. But I like Diggs regardless. I think he's going to line up in the slot mostly. So yeah, that's generally the consensus. Not going to affect Diggs. Then maybe will affect Kayshon Boutte, but he's getting no ownership at 5,000. I'm going to play some Boutte. I'm also going to play just a little bit of both Matt Collins and Pop Douglas, who Pop Douglas ran 40% of routes last week. Now Boutte comes back. There's a real chance that he just is a big dud, but we've seen him score 20 fantasy points on 30% route participation. And this is like from a schematic standpoint, the perfect matchup for Pop Douglas. So when I say I'm going to play 4, I'm going to play a lot of Diggs. I'm going to be double-digit ownership, double-digit exposure, I think, to Kayshon Boutte, and then I'll have 4% each of Hollins and Pop Douglas, and that's enough to be quadruple the field on both of them. So yeah, I'm gonna have a ton of the Patriots.
I love it. I think outside it's a kind of a perfect segue as well. Outside of this one other team, which we'll talk about next, the Patriots just feel like I just don't see a scenario like outside of crazy injury, right, or just something weird happens where there isn't some form of meaningful scores from a DFS perspective on this team. Right? I don't know. It could be Austin Hooper. Right, like it could be Mac Hollins. It could be Pop. Right, Pop runs 6 routes, but they're 2 wheel routes out of the backfield, right? And he catches the touchdowns again. Like I don't know, but I just feel like the Patriots are the surest thing to produce a meaningful fantasy score. It's just that we don't have any. They kind of have a bunch of bodies, right? It's like they're an NBA team that plays a deep rotation. You know, it's like nobody plays above 30 minutes. So which guy is it going to be? Right. Or they're the Raptors or whatever. It's like, I don't know. They all look good, but you tell me which of the 5 guys is going to do something tonight. It's like that for me. Similar, but different, Jordan, is the Detroit Lions. Just quickly, somebody mentioned it in chat because I want to make sure and mention his name because I got a couple of the deep guys. At $3,000, Mitchell Tinsley, I think, is going to run a bunch of routes for the Cincinnati Bengals today. And I think he might just be better than Yoshi, quite frankly. Like, as someone who drafted a ton of Yoshi, like last season, a lot of the 1-yard touchdowns were very fun. That was very cool. But if that's about all he really does. I don't think he's super special. I think you can play any of them, but I just think, like, people may say, well, who's going to step in? I think Gesicki back throws a little bit of a wrench into some of that, but I think Tinsley's going to get a chance. And they could be losing by a bunch, and then you really get him out there a bunch more. So anyway, on to the Lions, because they are the team, I think, Jordan, that's just like the Patriots, where, like, I don't know, man, they're going to score like however many points they want to score today. They do have a short week with Thanksgiving coming up, but I don't think that matters. I think that they treat every game like it's the last. And no Sam Laporta actually makes them like maybe a little bit more consolidated than before, down to just the 2 backs and the 2 wide receivers, because it doesn't seem like there's much Brock Wright going on out there. What do you think about the Lions, and how are you kind of like putting together your teams with the Lions in mind?
So last stat on the Bengals before we get over here, without Cam Taylor-Britt on the field, their yards per attempt on 160 dropbacks, 8.5. Their TD rate, 7.3%. And basically their completion percentage is 71%. They are as bad as it gets with them off the field on 162 dropbacks. So, Neil, I know DJ Turner may be covering people. He's not covering it too well, just because when this guy gets off the field, and he's out, I think, for the season now. But getting to the Lions, I'm afraid of Goff, and he could do it. And, like, I will not tell anybody that they are wrong for playing any Lion today out of the big, 5 or 6 guys that they have. I'm just fearful of David Montgomery. And that is, like, in my head, I'm like, if Dan Campbell really wants to just punish them, like, he can. Like, they have the ability to do so. Obviously, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get his. I think Amon-Ra is in a good bounce back spot. But I think if David Montgomery steals 2 touchdowns from this Lions passing offense, it does create issues for Jared Goff to be viable. JMO against man coverage lately has been incredible. He's averaged like 6 yards per route run over the last like 4 weeks against man coverage, and the Giants run it at one of the highest rates in the NFL. Before the season, or during the whole season, Amon-Ra has been their main go-to guy. So, like, I will get to a line in every single lineup today. Whether it's David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra, JMO, it's only going to be about where is my salary and what position do I need to fill the lineup, because they are incredible. I don't think anybody in the Giants stands out to me. I know that Wandale is going to be fine just because of the role and James Winston starting, but I'm even interested in David Montgomery with the Lions defense, because if you watched Jameis last week, he tried to throw about 4 pick sixes, I think.
Yes.
The Packers dropped more passes that Jameis threw than the Giants dropped passes. Like, I was staring, I was like, this guy is trying his hardest. If you have Packers defense, you must be furious. Because I played the Steelers defense last week and decided that Jamar Chase and them were going to fail. And that worked out swimmingly against Joe Flacco. So, like, this week, I kind of feel like the Giants defense is my favorite defense. Because that's another thing. If Jameis throws a pick 6 and Dave Montgomery scores twice, how much are these guys going to get? Like, they're going to put up 40. It's just, is it going to win you a GPP? And I'm just not so sure that is.
Yeah. As someone who played said Packers defense last week, I also have one of my best friends is a diehard Packers fan. And so, we got the group chat on the side, and he didn't know that I played the Packers defense, and he's tilting so hard the whole game about, so we both played college football. We both played defensive back. So we're very, biased against the whole, that's why he plays defensive back when the corner drops the pick or whatever. And even we're making the joke during the Packers, can someone catch an interception? So it doesn't look that bad for Jameis, but he was really bad in that game. And I don't think it's going to go great. I actually kind of like if you say what Jordan just mentioned, it's like DeMont Lions defense, you could blow up the slate and be super duper unique. I think that's another fun way to play the Lions. So we want to do anything else on the Lions? Neil, you got anything? Jameson Williams versus Amon-Ra, Gibbs, how much you playing those guys, or just general line stuff?
Yeah, no, I think the Lions are great, but I think everybody's playing all the Lions. I mean, I guess David Montgomery is a little bit contrarian, and I do like David Montgomery also. So yeah, I like the Lions. They're a little bit chalkier than the Patriots is the only reason that I'm not as excited, but I'm not going well over the field. I think Amon-Ra looks great. I think J-Mo looks great. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, I guess a little bit contrarian, and I will get to some David Montgomery, but I'm not going to Brock Wright or anything. Kind of just playing the hits with the Lions, and I'll have some golf stacks. I also do full game stacking that one a bit with Darius Slayton, maybe some Wan'Dale Robinson, maybe some Isaiah Hodgins. I guess I have not given a ton of thought yet, and I've been meaning to how much will Darius Slayton affect Isaiah Hodgins? Is he just going to be played off the field mostly? But I think Slayton is my biggest priority, I think, on the Giants.
I think it makes I think Slayton's quite sneaky because, like you said, everybody's just look, Hodgins kind of took over the lead role, and of course Slayton was out there. Same thing. How is this going to work? I don't know. How many carries does Ramondre Stevenson get? I don't know. How many targets does Isaiah Hodgins versus Slayton get? I don't know. But the ownership part of it, I think, is really big. I think there's the chat. We'll hit some questions here from the chat as we then move over to some of these other games. But on the line, people are bringing up, they play the Packers on Thursday. So it is a short week, and I can totally appreciate and understand the idea of I don't know how bad they're going to have to, kill the Giants today. And I'm have you seen Dan Campbell this off of a miserable loss where they played horrible against the Eagles? They need to keep winning games, by the way. This isn't just I know they're going to beat the Giants today, but I think that Dan Campbell after a loss is going to come out and be yeah, we play. Who cares if we play in 3 days? We're going to go score 50 on these guys. Now, that may not be, he may be light on Gibbs, right? He may give David Montgomery the ball more because of what you're saying, but I don't think Dan Campbell has it in his soul to actively try to score fewer points. It's just not what they do. So I get it. I'm just not particularly concerned about it. I would be more concerned about Lions defense and David Montgomery, or they'll throw one to the offensive tackle, right? You'll get some of that funky stuff with the Lions. Some questions. Boney asks, because I have this person tagged, my other super gross wide receiver that we'll talk about later. He asked about Mitchell Tinsley versus Mason Tipton. Yes, we've reached that point of the season. I prefer Mason Tipton. I think Mason Tipton can play. And of course, they cut Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks asked for his release from the New Orleans Saints, and Mason Tipton is going to play Neil favorite 5K running back on DraftKings. Ken Walker, David Montgomery, Ramondre, Kareem Hunt, or Emmanuel Wilson, which I guess we can use that to talk about him with Josh Jacobs on.
Yeah, and again, this is a defined favorite because Emmanuel Wilson probably is the one that I get to the most. He projects the best of the group. Favorite is probably Kenneth Walker. I love Ramondre. I guess I'll be the most over the field on Ramondre of that group. Kenneth Walker is the one that I feel the best about as a contrarian play. Ramondre, I'm going to be well over the field, but fully expecting it to fail because it's just I think somebody's going to score a lot of touchdowns, and I think it could be Ramondre, but I think Walker is the most likely to just bust off a 50-yard touchdown, like Jordan said, and put up 25. But then Wilson is the safest. He's the clear cash game option. So yeah, kind of depends on how you define favorite, but I guess I would go with Kenneth Walker as my favorite of that group.
Let's see. We got some more questions that you answered this in the chat, Jordan, but I just wanted to reiterate for people that were listening. Someone asked about Chase Brown from a cash game perspective, and I think we would all agree. I think you just play him in cash games, but it was more of a tournament take, correct?
Yeah. Whenever I'm talking about the chalk and stuff, I am referring strictly to tournaments. I will not be telling anybody that's like, hey, he got 22 targets in the last 2 weeks to not play that guy in cash. Like his floor is probably 15, which is good, very, very good floor compared to like a Kenneth Walker, who his floor is 5. So, like, I'm not gonna sit here and say he's not a great cash play. I think from tournaments, it's about what wins you GPPs.
Yep. T Wade asks, Burrow is out. Yes, that's correct. Burrow is out. So no, that's another thing on that game that is kind of interesting, similar to like how bad Jameis was. It's like Flacco hasn't been very good lately. The Patriots defense is solid enough, and like Jamar Chase is like a big deal, man. Like he's like the best wide receiver on the planet. You remove that guy from an offense and you insert my guy Mitchell Tinsley. You have to forgive me if I don't think that he can just replicate what Jamar Chase can do. Lippy asks Neil, this is an interesting one. Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry in tournaments?
I think Derrick Henry. It is pretty close to me. The washed running backs at the same price tag and great matchups. But I'm going to give just with Lane Johnson out and the Dallas defense maybe improving a little bit while they kind of Jets traded away Quinnen Williams, Cowboys added him. I'm going to give the lean to Derrick Henry there.
Anything on that one, Jordan?
I mean, it's tough. I like this Eagles today. I'm interested to see how that Dallas interior D line plays. They bullied the Raiders. Obviously, the Raiders are the Raiders. It's very different, but Philly's having some internal issues there, and AJ Brown is obviously a catalyst for quite a bit of all those comments. But I lean Derrick Henry, but really I love Zay Flowers for the Ravens this week.
I think I lean Derrick Henry to the Eagles, man. So first of all, I guess let's do that game because I think week one, and even just like a few weeks ago, we would have said, well, the Cowboys, right, are part of this Coors Fieldian thing, right? There should be a trio of games you're talking about: Eagles, Cowboys, Lions game, and Patriots, Bengals. But I don't think that that's really the case anymore. The Eagles have a lot to do with that. Just gross incompetence on the Eagles side. And they have no real reason to change, right? Because they're going to keep winning and the defense is really good. And they're worried about the Super Bowl as opposed to a week 12 game or whatever. However, we do need them to produce a little bit. AJ Brown has gone full like soap opera. Like every time they put a mic in front of him, he's like Michael Porter Jr. Like, just shut up, dude. You're embarrassing yourself every time you speak. But the Cowboys, I do think, with all the trades, with the guys getting back healthy, the defense is better than it was before. How much better? Maybe we'll see today. I do still like some Eagles, but would you agree that game, maybe a few weeks ago, we would have said, oh man, we're really going to be talking about this one. And I think it's just a little bit less of a priority than some of these other ones.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. It all comes down to the old Denny Carter quote for the AJ Brown stuff. The enemy speaks kindly and holds a knife. It's like for a wide receiver, it's like, yep, spot on with AJ Brown over and over. I still like the Eagles here. It's kind of like, so I like the Patriots because you don't know who to play from the Patriots, so people are just going away from it. The Eagles is like sort of like that to a lesser extent, but then it's also you add in the Cowboys defense getting better and Lane Johnson being out, like makes it a little bit murkier for me. Whereas like if it was still the same old Cowboys defense and they had Lane Johnson on the offensive line, then I would probably be just as excited about the Eagles. It's just like those factors are enough that I'm like, but maybe it's not actually as bad of a defense as I think it is at this point, or maybe it's at least an improved defense, and the offensive line is going to get worse, so it's less exciting. But I still think there's some of that. But then the other, it's also getting ownership. So there is you do know who to play, or to some extent, at least like your pool is pretty limited with the Eagles that you want to play. My favorite of the Eagles is is Smith, Devontae Smith. Like this is the Cowboys play like virtually zero man coverage. AJ Brown is the receiver that you typically want to play against man coverage. Devontae Smith has been much better against zone coverage this year. So if I'm playing one, I like Devontae Smith quite a bit. He would be my favorite. But if you tell me that it's just like, nope, this is the week that the squeaky wheel narrative kicks in with AJ Brown after he promised Jeff Lurie that he'd stop talking to the public and stuff. It's like this could just be like, yeah, if AJ Brown scores 2 touchdowns on 120 yards, I'm not going to be surprised either. So I really want to like lean in on Smith, but also like I get the case for AJ Brown. But yeah, my order of preference would be Devontae Smith number 1, Saquon Barkley number 2, AJ Brown number 3, and then Dallas Goedert I think is also playable. The Cowboys have been actually pretty good against tight ends, but I don't know if that's sticky. So I still think Dallas Goedert is a strong play because they should score a lot of points. And then obviously you can play some Hurts also. I think he's fine. I prefer May if I'm choosing from the top tier. It would be May and then Lamar before Hurts, but Hurts will be in my pool as well.
Jordan, I believe you're pretty much on the same page with Neil from a Devontae Smith perspective, having read your stuff. I will say, Neil, you mentioned the eliminator stuff. So I have Jamar Chase on my eliminator team, God. Which was that was a really it was also a real roller coaster. I quickly learned about the appeals process this week, by the way, because I was
can he play this week?
I'm feverishly Googling NFL appeals process, and you quickly find out that no, it's usually a couple hours that it takes. But anyway, I have AJ Brown on the eliminator team too, and I'm like, I think I'm going to play Devontae Smith in DFS because there's just no way that this is going to work for me when I need him. But Jordan, Eagles, Cowboys. I think I saw Devontae Smith and Javonte were your 2 favorite players.
Yeah, so the reason I like Javonte Williams is Vic Fangio is a very, very big proponent of giving you a light box and just kind of like, hey, we don't want you to throw. We want you to kind of feel like you can run here, and we will fit the run better than you can run the ball against us. And it's just a battle of like, they do it a ton, and they're not very successful. They don't really stop the run Philly when they go that way. It's just they usually outplay teams, and when it gets crunch time and they actually load the box once they're close to the goal line. And Dallas is one of the best teams when facing the light box because that offensive line is just mauling teams. Obviously, in the first matchup, we saw Javonte Williams run really well. He scored like 22 or 23 with 2 touchdowns. That's the kind of way I would play. Like, I like a Javonte and Devonta Smith mini. I'm a little off of Jalen Hurts just because of how much I like Drake May, and then I'm a little bit fearful of Jared Goff, and then I actually like Tyler Shuck. I know you mentioned Tipton, but that's a different discussion when we get to that point in the show. So yeah, Javonte is averaging like 6 or 7 yards against light boxes this year per carry. Cowboys just block really, really well, and Philly will just give you. And I also remember Jalen Phillips against the run. Like, as a Panthers fan, we ran at him the entire time. So if he's out there, I believe he's healthy this week. I remember him being maybe like a scare of the injuries, but I think they're going to run on the edges. I don't think they're going to go toward Jalen Carter's side, and they're going to be able to block it pretty well.
That makes a ton of sense. So just wanted to recap as we kind of work our way down some of these other games and other positions. Some of because there isn't a ton of like actives and inactives, but I just rap sheet, just the Sunday morning rap sheet reports are always a trip to read. This morning it was that the Browns are expected to take plenty of deep shots with Shedeur Sanders starting in week 12. It's like, how is this news in the morning? And good luck, I guess I would say, to whom and who is protecting him, and all that kind of stuff will be interesting. But that it was right next to Matthew Golden is out this week. So I just wanted to make sure and mention that. No Josh Jacobs, no Matthew Golden, of course, no Tucker Kraft. Dontavian Wicks is playing. Not necessarily that you want to play Dontavian Wicks, but some weapons are drying up in old Green Bay today. Ken Walker is active. Xavier Restrepo back. Boy, the Titans offense. Woof. It's a tough scene with all the injuries. And Xavier Worthy is also playing today. Aaron Rodgers out, which Chris asked Neil about. Is he the only one playing Steelers-Bears stacks with Mason Rudolph? He does say it's on FanDuel, but we have been playing a lot of Bears games over the course of the season, and we've done a little bit of Steelers stuff too. Is Mason Rudolph too bad for you to care for? What do you think about this game?
Yeah, let me look at what is the price tag on Mason Rudolph on.
I think they're paying you to play him.
7,100 on FanDuel. That's a bit much to me on FanDuel for Mason Rudolph. Like I kind of get it. I was tempted to look into playing some Mason Rudolph, but he's like a little bit too expensive. I think he's 4,700 on DraftKings, which is, I think it's playable. Like, to be clear, I don't think it's an awful play. 7,100 also I think is borderline playable, but I have, other. I prefer Tyler Shuck at 6,600. I think Jordan Love is just 7,200. Sam Darnold at 7,400 looks a lot better. So yeah, and if I'm going to that game, I would prefer just go to the Caleb Williams side at 77. I think Caleb I do like a bit on this slate. I will be playing some Caleb. We'll probably talk about Luther Burden, I would think, at some point. So yes, I like playing some of the Steelers Bears game. It's a great spot for the receivers on both sides. Mostly, I think just going to DK Metcalf of the receivers on the Steelers. Like, I think if I'm playing it, I'm playing it through the angle of Mason Rudolph is just going to target DK Metcalf 14 times, which Aaron Rodgers has not been doing. Aaron Rodgers, like DK Metcalf, has been like, yeah, he leads the team in targets by a lot, but it's like 7 per game. And I think Mason Rudolph could actually increase the volume for DK Metcalf pretty significantly. So I like playing it through DK Metcalf, and then I mostly prefer just playing it through the Bears side. I think you can play all of Rome, Luther Burden. Nobody's going to play DJ Moore, which I think is sort of an interesting angle. And then I like Caleb a bit.
As interesting as DJ Moore can get, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
We would say, but a little bit better spot catch and run. DJ Moore, needs to. He can't run routes and catch. He can get open on the routes. If you saw last week, my God, speaking DBs can't catch. DJ Moore just taking balls straight to the chest from Caleb last week. But Jordan, I think you like Burden a little bit. You like anything in this game?
Yeah, I liked Burden a lot. What I just wanted to know was the Jalen Warren is stuff, because I think the Steelers run game is kind of like, we've been attacking the Bears run defense all year. They got some linebackers out. That's kind of the way. It's like a mini stack feel to me, maybe the cheaper, obviously, side of things. Luther Burden last week I was in on. Obviously, I said it over just one of the worst plays that I had, but luckily I stayed away from the 4 p.m. slate because, God, Michael Wilson, and my God, the Arizona Cardinals and Steelers, or 49ers defense. Hopefully that defense shows up on Monday Night Football for Bryce Young after a 400-yard game. But just looking at Luther Burden, like, you just see the routes and just it's going up. And the funny thing is they're playing 12. They're not going to 3 receiver sets. Like, he's not even necessarily just getting the usage over Olamide Zaccheaus. He's just playing over DJ Moore. Like, that's what they've kind of been doing. And I think if you get them to run more 11, which in this game I think they will, then you're going to get Luther Burden in the slot probably. Like, I feel like Ben Johnson's starting to kind of creep into that. And realistically, it feels like he's not the same player, but he's on the same track record of what Amon-Ra did his rookie year. Amon-Ra missed a lot of time in the beginning of the year because of training camp, was inactive / like not really playing. And then when Ben Johnson took over play calling against, forgot the old freaking running backs coach, forgot his name. Amon-Ra just played immediately. And then Amon-Ra just became the guy. Caleb's a lot different than Jared Goff from, just an accurate passer perspective. But I do think Luther, we're eventually going to get that absolute smash spot from him and actually be used on routes and not necessarily trick plays.
I like it. Yeah, play it before you see it, right? And yeah. He's like the epitome of that kind of guy. Super cheap, super talented. We'll see. Him and Caleb is such a hilarious match because they are both crazy. So maybe that'll be good. Maybe that'll be bad. We will find out. But you mentioned and you guys answered the questions in the chat, or Neil, you did, about cheap quarterbacks on DraftKings, and you mentioned Jacoby Brissett as your favorite cheap quarterback. I think we need to talk about that Arizona Cardinals stuff. I wouldn't classify this Jaguar spot as good as that 49ers defense is awful, like absolutely awful. Now, the Jaguars pass defense is not anything like super duper exciting either, but it's a little bit trickier spot. But it's hard to deny that volume. Granted, it's 57 pass attempts, right, from Jacoby Brissett last week, but it was Michael Wilson, it was Trey McBride for a whole lot of work. How are we feeling about this Cardinals thing after that monster performance last week?
Yeah, I think I don't want to be like I don't want to play Jacoby Brissett because he's just hit every week for the past like 3 or 4 weeks, and now like it's boring to just go back to the same thing. But like it's been working, and he's still not getting crazy high ownership. So if the ownership does, I mean, he's getting like 13%. So like he is the chalkiest quarterback on the slate, to be clear, but he's not getting 25% ownership, and the price hasn't really come up. He's still just 5,300. Now the price of the stack has come up relative to last week, so it's not like the most appealing. It's not one that I'm like going to be well over the field on or anything, but like you just look at, I think I was asked about quarterbacks under 5,500. If I'm just playing one, yeah, it probably is Brissett. Like that's just, it's pretty straightforward. You play him with Trey McBride. If Brissett hits, it's pretty likely that Trey McBride does also. You can put Michael Wilson in there, and then if you want to throw in like a Dort or something, but I think it's mostly just those primary two, just a stack that builds itself for the Cardinals. So yeah, I do think, which by the way, I think Jordan said in our what's going to win the slate, I believe Jordan said Cardinals triple stacks. Am I remember that correctly?
Yeah, no, I was all over it. That was my favorite thing.
Absolutely smashed. Yeah, and won everything.
TJ called it, and it was,
he did.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
It was could not have been. It was what you had to have.
Okay.
For every.
I played 35% Brissett triple stacks in MME, and I still I just slightly better than broke even in that setting. I did great in single entry, but slightly did better than break even in that setting because I had 40% Jalen Warren and 35% Josh Jacobs.
Oh yeah, that was brutal.
Do you want to hear?
Tough.
You guys want to hear something sick? My buddy played the double of Jacoby Brissett, and he saw me talk about Rachaad White. He played Sean Tucker.
Ooh,
He took the $3 and came in second for like $8K.
No way.
He played 25% Sean Tucker and a $3.20 entry max and came in second because he played the Jacoby Brissett game. And I'm like, you're sick, dude.
The most
great.
Underrated part that got lost in the fact that someone played Sean Tucker last week was the fact that you said, my buddy listened and knew that I liked Rachaad White, so he did the exact opposite of what.
He's a huge Sean Tucker guy. Like because we have a college football fantasy league together, and he had Sean Tucker at Syracuse, and like he's always been in on it. Like when you win a college football thing with your guy, you just feel like you got to go get him. Yeah. Like I had a buddy draft a team that had Drake London and CeeDee Lamb on it. So his like forever, he's like, I'm getting these guys in fantasy when I can. So it's a fun.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, Ruthless Villain says your buddy needs to be on the show. He should have taken my place last week because good Lord, I was like, don't play Michael Wilson, don't play this guy, don't do that. And it was like, I think that was all the winning tournament plays.
Hey, we got Christian Watson. Christian Watson was great.
Yeah, Christian Watson. That went well. Anything else on this Jags? Bashal Tutin? I actually kind of wanted to talk about the backfield a little bit because I think we're talking about the Cardinals because like they just have no one left, right? And they're gonna throw because they don't care. But the Jags are probably in a little bit of the better spot. The Cardinals defense is a little bit worse. The Cardinals just keep losing and giving up 1 million points, but it's kind of a similar situation. But no Brian Thomas, but who would we play from the Jaguars? Neil, is there any standouts to you? I kind of like Tutin now that he's off the injury report.
Oh, love Tutin. Yeah, no, I'm very much on the Tutin train. Yeah, he was splitting carries with Travis Etienne early last week and like looking great. He's looked great all year. Like he's looked like he should take on a bigger share of this workload. The issue has just been that Travis Etienne has also looked great. So it's like, do we really need to replace Travis Etienne? They haven't felt the need. Travis Etienne also banged up and might be more limited than Tutin this week. I think most people thought, oh, Tutin's ankle is going to cause him issues and whatever. But at this point, it's looking like Etienne is more likely to be hampered than Tutin, in which case, yeah, Tutin at 4,600 against this Cardinals defense could get more than half the carries here. Etienne probably still going to be more involved in the passing game. But I think, yeah, Tutin at 4,600, like the price is just wrong there. If we do, what we're forecasting, if that actually happens, Tutin is inexpensive. I don't hate playing Etienne either, just from not many people are going to play him. He's only 5,900 on DraftKings and he's explosive, like doesn't need to do all that much. So, my preference, like I'll probably have more of Tutin, which means I'll definitely have more relative to the field of Tutin. I think that Etienne is in play. Jacoby Myers, I think, is a totally fine play there on the Jaguars. I think Myers is kind of a strong play. Brenton Strange returning, don't hate that. So yeah, there are a number of plays on the Jaguars that I like as well. I don't know if I'm going to go to Parker Washington. I guess I haven't. He has not been like somebody that he's 5,200. I think he's fine, but not like a priority. But yeah, love Tootin with you on Tootin. I think ETN looks pretty good. Nobody else is like a huge priority. Jacoby Myers looks pretty good. Strange looks okay. Yeah.
I just want to add on the Tootin thing. You know, we all have our weird little quirks, but like pass pro and like, you know, some of the like things around running backs, and specifically when like coaches talk about it, it all like my ears always perk up. It's like a big deal and like a step in their development, right? Like Jordan was talking about like how Amon-Ra came on down the stretch, right? Burden's earning more work. It's usually not from like catching the ball. Actually, it's like lining up right and being in the right spot and like doing all those little things that rookies need to do. So Liam Cohen just said about Bashal Tootin, he's taken pass protection very seriously. It's easily the most challenging thing for any rookie running back to get down. But I love that they call him Toot, by the way. But Toot has done a phenomenal job of getting extra work in practice. He's taken pride in it, blah, blah, blah. I've been really pleased with how he's been able to run. But I think looking at like the pass protection has been even bigger. And so like all this is like, oh, that's why he was getting a lot more work. Like he's not necessarily getting the pass protection work last week, but you just earn that trust, right, over the course of the season. And this just feels like that spot, like you said, ETN kind of banged up. He was kind of taking over. Tootin was last week before he got hurt, right? And then ETN kind of backed into some work. I played ETN last week, so I enjoyed that. That was nice. But this week, I kind of think it's a pretty sneaky good spot for Bashal Tootin. Anything to add, Jordan?
Not much. I just saw that there's a gross wide receiver playing. Oh, you love these. Xavier Restrepo is active for the first time this year. That is, buddy, I literally helped coach when he was like 6, 8 years old. Watch this kid. I've known this kid my whole life. Not super close, but know a lot of people who are. So him getting a chance with Cam Ward this week will be pretty cool to see. I'll have to play it, at least one lineup.
Got to play one Millie lineup, especially all summer was a lot of the talk of like people didn't necessarily like Restrepo was a little bit more of people's favorite in the draft process, and then obviously that didn't go well for him. They took 2 wide receivers, but people were still like Neil's mentioned like the best ball world, like drafting, like in like dynasty leagues, people are still drafting Xavier Restrepo is very funny. So maybe they'll be right today. Yeah, another like you said, another gross. Io Manor's hurt. Ridley is hurt. They're really banged up in Tennessee. Another Mitchell Tinsley mention in the chat. Shout out to the Mitchell Tinsley stands here. Neil, a question from Chalky Talkie, great name. Any interest in the other wide receivers for the Ravens, or like pass catchers for the Ravens, non-Zay Flowers, because of course Rashad Bateman is out again.
You can play DeAndre Hopkins. I think I have. It's not like a huge priority for me. Let me actually. I've got the. Let me look at the routes from last week because I have not given a ton of thought. Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins up to 68%. We've seen what he can do like on limited routes. So I do like the Hopkins angle. I think that's a strong one to play. If we're talking just wide receivers, I don't think I would go any deeper than Flowers and Hopkins. I think you can go to Andrews or Likely. So yeah, I think it's just those 4 for me. Flowers, Hopkins, and then either of the tight ends look fine. But last week with Bateman out, Tylan Wallace still just 32% route participation. Obviously can put up like just like one play that he, is an 80-yard touchdown or something, but 32% route participation. It's like he's probably not going to do much more than that, even if he does get that. So I think it's just those 4 for me.
Tylan Wallace would be another one from Jordan's college fantasy, maybe not working out quite as well as some of those other guys, but Tylan Wallace was quite fun in college. But I know, Jordan, you like Zay Flowers quite a bit here in this spot. You briefly touched on him before, but just if you want to kind of give your Zay speech for the folks.
Yeah, so the Jets, let me find the exact stat. Yeah, the Jets are basically against play action, which obviously the Ravens do plenty with Derrick Henry back there in Lamar Jackson. They're giving up over 8 yards per attempt, and they have a 13-0 touchdown to interception ratio this year. They've given up 13 touchdowns off play action. With Lamar Jackson on the field, Zay's got a 35% target share off play action. He's got 40% or 35% of the air yards. He averages 7 yards a route almost. Like, it is absolutely absurd. And on top of it, against zone coverage, which is what the Jets are doing plenty, Zay's averaging with Lamar Jackson at quarterback 10 yards after the catch per reception. Teams play a lot of zone against Lamar. It's where, you get eyes on the quarterback. Zay has been very good at finding the soft spots in those zone coverages. I think he's going to have a very, very big day this week.
I love it. Let's talk about some of the running backs quickly that we've done a lot of like the stacking and the Lions and the Travion and whatever. We've done a lot of that stuff. But there are probably some other running backs that we haven't gotten to, Neil, that you haven't mentioned thus far? What are your kind of priorities at the running back position?
Yeah, I mean, I brought up both of the Patriots running backs, both of the Lions running backs, Kenneth Walker, Tootin. We've kind of hit the high notes. I mean, Emmanuel Wilson at 5,300, I think to me, he's better chalk than Chase Brown. Vikings defense kind of hit or miss. It really depends on the Vikings offense. I've given this take before that I just think they're a defense that's like actually pretty good against the run, but they get worn down if the offense can't sustain drives. And man, did JJ McCarthy look bad last week. I'm hurting from watching that as a Vikings fan and a bag holder. Like all things, I was like, oh no. So yeah, I think if the Vikings offense struggles, their defense will also continue to struggle against the run. And he's just like, the workload is too good for Emmanuel Wilson at 5,300. So it's like similar, I think, in a way to Chase Brown, where it's just like, yeah, I don't know if he's going to be efficient, but the workload is really good. But he's $900 cheaper. So it's just a bit easier for Emmanuel Wilson to get there. I think, yeah, again, Bijan at 8,500, totally fine to me. I prefer Henry over Saquon, but I think both are very much in play. I'm trying to think if there are any other. Somebody asked me earlier about Aaron Jones is 5,700 revenge spot here. I don't really, the revenge spot I don't care about, but it is like he's had a better workload than Jordan Mason on the ground, not to mention his work through the air. So I actually think Aaron Jones, yeah, it sets up pretty well for him. I will have some Aaron Jones. Not going to get to any Jonathan Taylor at 10,000. I think that's just kind of a cross it out spot for me this week. Too expensive. One thing that I haven't told anybody that I'm, afraid to say it out loud. I kind of want to play Zach Charbonnet at 4,900 with like Kenneth Walker not getting enough ownership that it's like great leverage, but like everybody's talking about Kenneth Walker, and I wouldn't be surprised to still see Zach Charbonnet get the goal line carries and just I don't know, and they might just run a lot. So
Walker was banged up. Walker was They said he's fine, right? They said he's fine, but he did pop up on the injury report at the end of the week. So yeah,
so like kind of in play.
I can't do another week saying a running back and having the backup go for 30. I can't do that. I can't. I mean, and Kenneth Walker and Rashad White might as well be the same thing.
Okay, well, you need to talk about running backs, and I need you to tout Bijan so Tyler Algier can score 30 for me while I step away for 2 seconds.
I actually do like Bijan quite a bit this week because I'm playing Tyler Shock. I know the field is going to be like, excuse me? Why would you recommend Tyler Shock? You look at Atlanta's pass defense, like I know what they were in the beginning of the year, and they were very, very, very good, and they were very, dominating quarterbacks. But like the last 3 weeks, Bryce Young threw for 440 yards. Like, Neil, you can attest, you've hated Bryce Young all year. Having 400 yards passing for Bryce Young is insanity. Yeah. And on top of it, it's like you go Shuck, and then you could just play Olave, and you could play one of Kamara or Juwan Johnson. Because I think you watch Rico Dowdle notice, like, hey, this, they're giving up this. I'm going to be one-on-one. Let me catch the ball and go Burr. I think Alvin Kamara with Shuck, Stacks, and Olave is very, very interesting this weekend. I know the over-under in the game is very, very low, but Bryce Young, again, threw for 400 yards against the Falcons last week. Shuck looked competent against the Panthers and actually had somewhat of a good day. And against cover 3 in particular, against the Panthers, which was our primary defense, it's the Falcons' primary defense. They run at about like 30 to 40% clip every week. He wants to throw downfield, and Olave is their downfield weapon. Like, I don't mind Shuck Stacks this weekend.
I like it. I noticed you didn't mention the best Saint to play in your Shuck Stacks.
Hey, you can play. That makes it even more fun.
Preseason, the Saints are so bad. We're getting into the preseason superstars way before the end of the season. But obviously, I'm being a little facetious, but I do think, Mason Tipton is going to play, and I he's one of those, right? Like, I think he can play. It's just, when you're the young guy, undrafted dude, and there's Brandon Cooks ahead of you and Rashid Shaheed and Chris, like there's what's gonna, you're not gonna get out there. Obviously now they've cleared the runway for this kid. What does that mean? I don't know, but I like the spot just like you do, Jordan. So I like said, like as a 3K like total crapper punt, if you need one, he's my favorite. On the slate. I heard you touting Bijan. Thank you. That means my Tyler Algier bags are going to be pretty good today. Marie wants to know, Neil, what about Darius Slayton versus Christian Watson on DraftKings? Pretty similar prices.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, that's very close. Going to depend on the rest of your lineup, but I'll probably have more of Darius Slayton because I'm playing more of that. I guess like individually, I'm not sure I feel that strongly about it, but yeah, I guess I lean Darius Slayton. I'll have more of Darius Slayton.
I like it. Any other like passing stacks, Jordan? You know, quarterbacks, wide receivers, anything that we haven't talked about. The biggest game of the slate from a real life perspective is Chiefs Colts. The Chiefs need to win like bad, like it's like almost must win, which is scary against the Colts. But you know, Jonathan Taylor's priced so expensively. Rashee Rice is pretty expensive, but you know, theoretically, this game should be pretty fun. You like anything here for DFS?
Lou Anarumo is such an interesting defensive coordinator. Just what like he's faced this Chiefs team so much when he was with the Bengals, and it feels like their games are pretty the same every time. Like it's not a shootout. Everybody wants it to be a shootout, but it's never one. And when Tyreek Hill left the Chiefs, like they just didn't have this explosive passing game against them. Like I like Travis Kelce here. I don't really like to stack any of it. Like Charvarius Ward coming back. And they have Sauce Gardner. Rashee Rice is going to get one of them the whole game. I would be very surprised to see the Colts be comfortable with him just being one-on-one in certain scenarios with like a safety. So I don't really like him all that much. And then on the Colts side, like Alec Pierce is fine for the big play, but that Chiefs defense is nasty. They are a very, very, very good group.
Anything on that one, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, I think Rashee Rice is fine, not a huge priority for me. Xavier Worthy, if you want to take a long shot, like he's still like capable of the big splash play. I'm not playing much of anybody from that game, I don't think, which it does feel like the one that's like, this is kind of a blind spot. Like this is the one that can hurt me the most in the most different ways. So I think Rashee Rice is like fine, but not a priority for me at 7,700. Nobody really on the Chiefs. Like I don't think I'm going to get to Kareem Hunt. Or anybody, yeah. No, so not a priority.
I do think I could feel foolish in a few hours about like Mahomes in a must-win game at home. Like the Colts defense is much better, right? When you add some of that talent and get healthier, but like that hasn't stopped Patrick Mahomes from scoring 30 plus fantasy points and throwing 4 or 5 touchdowns, right? And if Rashee is going to struggle, Xavier Worthy is very cheap. Travis Kelce is low owned. He's not necessarily like an incredible tournament play that I'm excited. But I don't know, man. You watch Travis Kelce and you're like, this dude is cooked. And then you go look at the fantasy scores and you're like, this guy's amazing. Like he's still doing the same thing every single week. So I'm saying all this because I'm probably not going to play these guys. But if like a Mahomes, Kelce, and like maybe Alec Pierce on the other side was like the tournament winner, I wouldn't be the least bit shocked. In this game. Any other? I'm just trying to double check here. I think we've talked about most of these, unless you guys really like Browns Raiders. I think we've talked about most of like the game stack stuff, but there's a question about tight ends, and we can kind of segue into some tight ends. I'll kick it to you, Neil, because the question was AJ Barner or Juwan Johnson in PPR, so DraftKings scoring.
Yeah, and that one is a particularly tough question for me. Like that's really close. I think both are very much in play. Largely depends on the rest of the lineup, but I guess I'll probably have more of AJ Barner. Like 10 targets last week, if I'm remembering right. Also gets the tush push stuff. Nice matchup with Tennessee. So I think slight preference for AJ Barner, but yeah, I think both are pretty strong tight end plays.
Yeah, J3. We want tight ends and defense talk. You're here. We're in that tight end defense part of the conversation. Jordan, you have any specific takes on the Barner, Juwan, and then let's dig into some of our favorite other tight ends.
I like Juwan over him just because obviously I'm like Tyler Shuck. Therefore I just have to. Tight end, I think this is a very fun week for tight ends, but the only thing is like I don't really see myself leaving the chalk range, which is great. Like I watched Brock Bowers go for 40 against the good old Jaguars defense, and that's the only player you've got to figure out. And now I'm watching Trey McBride, who does it every single week with Jacoby Brissett, because why could Kyler Murray throw him the ball? I think he's just he's a really good play at an uncomfortable price. I think 23% owned for a 6'8" tight end is just scary. That's a tough price, because that's where I'm like, I'll just go to Hunter Henry and save the $3,000. An upgrade from Kenneth Walker to Bijan Robinson. That's what you can do with that type of price saving. Then Kelsey, like Hunter Henry, McBride, Kelsey are the three that I'm most interested in. Brock Bowers at low ownership is I'm not going to say a better play, but a more intriguing play in tournaments. I know it was bad against Denver. I know Dallas, it wasn't a great day, but he had 12 targets, and he's going to get targeted a ton against the Browns.
I like it. I will just say, remember when Trey McBride couldn't score touchdowns? Remember that? Remember that? It was week 5 was the last time he did not score a touchdown, and he has one game with multiple. Shout out to Jacoby Brissett. Thank the Lord for unlocking Trey McBride. I feel pretty similarly that I would love to have Trey McBride, but yet like a quarter of the field spending $7,000 on their tight end when like everything they've just been getting the what kicked out of them every single week, and then it leads to 50 pass attempts, which leads to double-digit targets for Trey McBride. If they can, I don't really think that they will, but if they can hang in there, they don't want to throw 57 times, right? That's not the goal. Neil, what else do you like at tight end, and what are you doing with the McBride chalk?
Yeah, I think that I will be probably around under the field. That if he gets over a quarter the field playing him, I guess I'll be under the field on Trey McBride. It is like a fantastic spot, so it's tough to want to be too far into the field. This is the in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to the position over the past 5 weeks, second best possible matchup for Arizona here, and it's more of a tight end funnel than a wide receiver funnel for whatever that is worth. So I think that he's a very strong play. I might have him in a quarter of my lineup, so I guess I probably won't be that far off the field on Trey McBride. My biggest stand is going to be Hunter Henry. I'm just going to have tons of Hunter Henry, partially hedging at this point, but I think I was actually going to have a ton of Hunter Henry regardless of facing him in the eliminator. I think Hunter, like, he's just like the first name that popped out to me is like, somebody's going to score here. Who's it going to be from the Patriots? Oh, the tight end. Of course it's going to be the tight end. So yeah, I think Hunter Henry, just an absolute smash. Beyond McBride and Henry, it's kind of a play what fits my lineup. I think it is a fun tight end slate, like Jordan said. I think Pitts looks pretty good. I think Andrews, Kelsey, Bowers, Gesicki, Goddard, like I think all of these tight ends, you can make a case for them. It's mostly going to be fit the tight end into my lineup. Beyond McBride and Henry are the two that are just like I'm going to be well over the field regardless of whether I'm in a stack there.
I like it. I was really disappointed. Not that I want to play guys in that game, but I thought we were going to get full bore Harold Fannin week to add to the fun tight end, but Njoku is good to go. Just quickly, you hit on him a little bit before, Neil, but somebody asked about Gesicki. You said you're like just playing a little bit of him, not getting crazy, but you like him a little bit.
Yeah, I think Gesicki is like, we just don't know what the workload is going to look like in his first game back. If we knew he was going to be like full-time player, I would love Gesicki here. But I think even if he's running, 50% of the routes, just at his price, he's only 4,000 on FanDuel also, so it looks particularly good on FanDuel. But yeah, you just like, even in a part-time role, could see a ton of targets here with no Jamar Chase. So I think Gesicki looks good.
I will add one more to the bucket, and I apologize if you guys mentioned them. But if you're playing that, you don't have to be playing Lamar, Zay, Derrick Henry, what have you. But no Garrett Wilson, Tyrod Taylor is the quarterback. Mason Taylor continued to get more. Now, when Aaron Glenn talks, it is a little like some of these other guys that we made fun of. Like, yeah, whatever. He's speaking, but there's not a lot of actual content coming out. But they really don't have much else, and they have continued to reiterate. And I think with Tyrod, it's going to be a different deal than with Justin Fields and they should be losing like by a lot. So we should theoretically get some more targets for Mason Taylor. I like him quite a bit. Do we have any weather issues? We do not. Thank the Lord. No weather issues today to worry about. Shout out Kevin Roth for the weather report. You can go check that on, of course, RotoGrinders. But we got to bring in crunch time here in just a second. But first, just one quick defense take from all three of us, and then we got to give our flag plants to what's going to win tournaments, and then we'll bring crunch time in. Jordan, let's do a rapid fire defense.
I got the Lions. I think that the field playing the Raiders-Browns, I prefer the Lions, and I think that's how the Jared Goffs and company get a little bit less production on that side.
Yeah, I will say I do very much like the Browns. Why can we stop with this price? 2,900 against the Raiders? Come on. You're just like, if you play them, you're going to be mad because they're going to be 40% owned. And if you fade them, it's going to be miserable because like you don't want to watch them like Myles Garrett against that offense. I will throw the Seahawks in because this I mean, we're talking about Xavier Restrepo for the Tennessee Titans. That's how bleak it is on their side. I think a good bounce back spot for the Seahawks. What do you think, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, if you're paying down, I think the Saints against Kirk Cousins at 2,500 in New Orleans looks like a pretty strong bet. You've kind of named, I think the Raiders, at least a little bit less chalky going up against Shador in his very first NFL game. So usually I want to attack a rookie in his first NFL game. Look pretty good. I guess the one that has not been mentioned yet, sadly, the Packers against JJ McCarthy. I think they have a pretty good defense. JJ McCarthy has looked like a train wreck, so you can go to the Packers also.
Dude, I just want to say the passing, I ended up on the McCarthy stack. Okay, it all kind of fit well last week for me. You knew it was over on drive 2 because they're open. And then even when he did make an accurate throw, Addison's dropping it, JJ's dropping it, Rome and DJ Moore dropping it on the other side. I was like, this game should be like 35-30 and it's going to be 13-10 because nobody can do anything. It was wild. So let's try to improve upon the flag plants this week. TJ, shout out TJ, saved my bacon for sure. I was horrible last week, but Jordan, what do we got? What's the thing that's going to win tournaments today?
I'm gonna go with Zay Flowers. I was in between Zay and Chris Olave. Really confident that Zay Flowers will get it done against the Jets. I think the Jets don't allow a ton of yards before contact, which is what you're looking for with the Derrick Henry explosion games. And I think off play action, Zay gets over 102.
I love it. Neil?
I'll go with Hunter Henry. I kind of wanted to say I think the Patriots are going to score 6 touchdowns here, and you're going to need somebody for the Patriots. But I'll be more specific. I'll say I think it's probably Hunter Henry at 3,900.
I love it. I will add, no, I am not concerned about the Lions playing on Thanksgiving. No, I'm not concerned about them taking their foot off the gas. But a player who, honestly, that doesn't matter for because his price and the way he scores his points is Jameson Williams. And Jordan hit on it, but we haven't talked about it like a ton. Since Dan Campbell has taken over the play calling, this is like a throw everything out before with Morton as OC in the garbage with Jameson Williams. He is a fixture of this offense. He's running a wildly different route tree, and they're targeting him in an awesome way. And you see every week he catches an in-breaker and takes it, that to the house or for at least, a bunch of yak. This is an awesome spot to do that. So if you're worried about, Jahmyr Gibbs or Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams only 5,700 on DraftKings. You don't have to worry quite as much about how this game will go, though they're going to score a lot of points. I think it's going to be okay. It's also going to be okay with your questions. We're going to bring Crunch Time in here. And if you have any more questions, please keep them coming into the chat. They will take you guys all the way up until lock. But let's go ahead and bring them in and chop it up for a minute. Dude, I also didn't know this. BTTH Pod just says in the chat, the Giants drafted Dan Campbell. This is revenge. This is Dan Campbell revenge from when he was a player. I mean, how many points are the Lions going to score today, Beer?
I said 40 the other day, so feel pretty confident about that. Team totals up to 32.5. So a lot of Lions today. A lot of iterations you can use. Should be a fun slate.
TJ, you have a high bar to clear to surpass the hot take for the bold take from last week. You got anything juicy for us?
Well, the non-juicy side of it is Trey McBride. I'm playing him in about 90% of my lineups today, so I'm just loading up heavily on Trey McBride. The juicier one is I'm with you guys. I'm all aboard the Detroit Lions today, but I'm going to be doing it from the other side. And so Jameis Winston is, I think, the slate breaker today, loaded up with a ton of Lions on the other side of it.
I love it. We will get out of you guys here. I know Chief is going to be joining any moment, but these two, of course, got you guys taken care of. Again, keep dropping your questions. And as J3 said, he wants to belly up to the fantasy bar. We were blessed with Beer and TJ giving out the winners. But we from GPP Final Takes will see you guys next week. Cheers.
So we will hopefully have Chief joining us shortly. He'll be popping in. I will be popping out. there was he just messaged me. There was a very bad accident on his way home from coaching basketball. So he is fine, but he is stuck in a traffic jam. So hopefully we'll be here shortly, but just dealing with that right now. But thankfully, I got my guy, Chris Prince Beer, joining me today. One of the GOATs. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. Nothing better than an NFL Sunday. So lineups are pretty much set. Most of the news is in. Looks like the chat is popping. So ready to rock, man. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Get to see you 2 days in a row, so that's a plus, and feeling really good about this slate. It's a really fun tournament one.
Yeah.
There's a couple games in particular I'm looking forward to targeting, so hopefully we can help the people win some money. Before we dive into it, I want to let you know about Combo Pro. If you want to check out some DFS sports outside of just the NFL, you can get your first month of Combo Pro for only $79.99. That's only $5 more than NFL Premium. You get access to NFL, NBA, college football, NHL, PGA, MMA. Our NHL team is crushing it as always. And I want to give an extra shout out to our NBA team. I've just been firing cash game lineups, which I usually don't play, out every night in NBA. Every night that I'm playing NBA, I'll throw a cash game lineup in as well as my tournament lineups. Just throw in the RotoGrinders optimal lineup right before lock. And it's cashed every day but 2 days so far in the last 2 weeks that I've been doing it. So shout out to the RotoGrinders NBA team. They've been crushing it. If you do want to just check out NFL, you can get yourself a 3-day pass without the commitment. You can build lineups through the weekend for only $9.99. That's 50% off. Get yourself access to a 3-day pass. We'll go position by position here. We'll take your questions in the RotoGrinders YouTube and live stream Discord chat. And we'll cover kind of FanDuel and DraftKings together as we go through position by position. But start me off with a little bit of an overview. How are you planning on attacking this slate? Give me your 30,000-foot view.
I mean, it's one of the tougher slates on the season. The pricing is up. You know, the sites obviously differ, and we'll cover some of those price differences. I think there's a few that really jump out, but it's not the easiest week. We got a lot of high-end guys we want to play. There's value, but it feels more like dark throw value. Like there's no surefire, you know, outside of Emmanuel Wilson, obviously with the Jacobs news. So it's definitely a tougher slate, but I do think there's some spots, and I do think there's guys that look a little lower owned than I thought they would be. So, you know, cash games, a little easier. I think there's more obvious plays in cash, but tournament, some higher scoring teams. Detroit, we're going to talk plenty about. New England and Cincinnati. What do we do with Brissett? So, you know, a lot of questions to ask here today.
Let's do it. Let's start going through the quarterback position. We'll recap our favorite stacks at the end, but we can kind of cover this within the quarterback position as well. RotoGrinders, SimLabs says for DraftKings, at least, Jared Goff has the highest optimal rate on the slate, but it is very close between Goff, May, Hurts. I still think from a cash perspective this week, I'd personally probably go Jacoby Brissett, but who are your top QBs today?
Yeah, Brissett, I think, is an easy cash play, especially on DraftKings, still underpriced. We know that, you know, they're going to throw a ton with Bam Knight, Michael Carter in the backfield. So he looks good. The guys I have the most of, I have a lot of Jared Goff, obviously, stacked a ton of different ways, singles, doubles, triples. You know, that one's a lot of fun. So a lot of him. Jalen Hurts really stands out on DraftKings as being underpriced. And FanDuel, he's up at 9K. You know, DraftKings, he's the 4th or 5th highest priced quarterback. So he's showing some pretty decent leverage in SimLabs over there. Have a little bit on FanDuel, but much more attractive on DraftKings today. I'll have some Mahomes. I love the Mahomes, Rice, Kelsey stuff. If you can fit Jonathan Taylor, I think that's an outstanding stack. Not easy to do, but that one plays as well. A little bit of Jameis. I think you have much more confidence in Jameis than I do, so I'll let you wrap on him. And lower owned guys, I like Caleb Williams. Not seeing a ton of love for him, and I get it. It's been a rough ride, but no team giving up more passing yards through the air per game than the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that one I would say for tournaments, but some fun stacks there too. Guys like Adunze, Burden starting to get some attention here. So that's the majority of my pool today. Didn't land on any Lamar. That one's always a little scary. Have a little bit of Drake May. That one can be tough to stack, but again, you got a lot of choices there. But so my favorites are definitely Jared Goff, Hurts on DraftKings, and Caleb Williams on the cheap as far as ownership goes.
on a lot of the same guys for me today. I think the one that I'm worried that, he looks great in projections and I don't have any of is Trevor Lawrence. And that's going to be a guy that I'm full fading today. But Hurts, Goff, probably my two favorites overall. Brissett in that group as well. You get to save some salary. Outside of those three, that's when I'm starting to do a lot of these really gross cheap stacks. So I'm loading up on Jameis Winston. I'm loading up on Tyler Shuck. I'm loading up on Tyrod Taylor even, just because all of his pass catchers are below 3,500. So I can play Trey McBride, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, all in the same lineup. I do really like Patrick Mahomes as well. I'm with you there. And then Lamar Jackson, the only other one in my pool. Actually, not the only other one in the pool, because I did end up throwing in one Joe Flacco lineup and one Mason Rudolph lineup. And just some low dollar large field stuff just to take some shots. But that's kind of the entirety of my pool today. I do think
real quick, I like the Tyler Shuck call out, and even Tyrod, who we know can get it done with his legs. So Shuck's been better than people realize. I really like Olave today, so that's an easy pairing. You can get risky and add a Vele, a Tipton, more to that stack, but a cheap stack. So it's going to open up some money at running back mainly is where we want to spend. So really like the Tyler Shuck call out, and I do have some Tyrod as well, like you mentioned. Just cheap pieces to stack him with. And, you hope he gets the 30, 40, 50 rushing yards and they don't get blown out. So I think that's definitely a viable way to build this week.
Same page for this one. One of my favorite stacks on the slate is Shuck, Olave, Juwan Johnson, Bijan Robinson on the other side.
There you go.
That's one of my favorite ways to build today. Speaking of Bijan Robinson, let's make the pivot over to the running back position. Chase Brown with a near 40% optimal rate today. They were talking a lot about him on the last show as well. It's a bit of a weird situation because the Patriots are in maybe the best run defense in all of football, an incredible run defense. They also give up a ton of receptions to the running back position without Samaje Perine, Chase Brown playing pretty much 100% of the snaps. And he's been a really good receiving running back over his career. How are you planning on handling him today?
So here's my Chase Brown breakdown. I think he's a great cash game play. Him and Wilson, I think, make a ton of sense. Tournaments, I'm not going to play in all this ownership. I'm going to have some certain builds, stacks of that game or something on the other side of a Drake May build. But like you mentioned, nobody's given up fewer rushing yards than New England. So he's really got to get there on the reception volume, which he can. His props are up at 4.5, 5.5 receptions. So you can certainly get there that route. So DraftKings, I think that makes him a lot more viable. But his optimal rate scares me because I don't love him as much as the Sims do today. So I'm going to be vastly underweight on him. People play him. I get it. He's too cheap for this role, but I'm taking an underweight stance in tournaments. And I'm actually taking the same stance on Emmanuel Wilson, who I think this ownership is going to only charge up. Like we said, we don't have much value. Cash games, I think he's a great play. Tournaments, his offense has not been great. And Minnesota's defense playing better. Yes, he's going to get a full workload, but Brooks is going to work in as well. I just don't love that spot either as much as the field. So for tournaments, I love that. I can get a little bit different. You're going to see a lot of Chase Brown, Emmanuel Wilson lineups, and there are a lot of great running back plays on the slate this week.
There really are. And yeah, I think that was really well said, especially on DraftKings. I don't think you necessarily have to play him on FanDuel because where you don't get that point per reception, Chase Brown isn't overly exciting over there. But on DraftKings, he's basically just a cash game lock. You have to play him over there because of that reception floor.
Absolutely.
And you just hope he doesn't get into the end zone, right? He's not going to get a ton of rushing yards today against the Patriots. At least you don't think, unless he happens to break an unexpected big one. But for the most part, DraftKings, he's 6,900, so he's fine on FanDuel. But at 30% ownership, I'm way more comfortable fading him on FanDuel than I am on DraftKings. Emmanuel Wilson's the guy that I'm going to be heaviest on. I have him in like Wilson and McBride. If those guys fail today, well, it's just not my day. It's not my day if Wilson and McBride fail. I have them both in at least 80% of my lineups. I didn't look at the exact number, but it's somewhere between 80 and 90%. With the expensive guys, who do you prefer between Bijan and Gibbs today?
I love Gibbs. This is my favorite play by far. I mean, like I said, when we were chopping it up with the boys, this is just a statement game. Everyone's questioning Lions, are they legit? We know they're good. Are they legit Super Bowl contenders? You go to Philadelphia and lose. You put 6 points on the board. Is Dan Campbell, should he be calling plays? This is just one of those spots. What people love to say, eruption spot. So we'll use that. But I think they score at least 30 points. And it could come from a variety of ways. It's no given that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the guy. But off of losses, 39 and 41 DraftKings points for Jahmyr Gibbs. In high total games, his numbers are off the chart. So I just have way less concerns about him. I know there's more competition. Bijan, I'm worried a little bit about that offense. He's still going to be involved, still going to catch passes, but Kirk Cousins does not look great. Algier can come in and steal some things. And we have the same case with Montgomery, could come in and steal some things. But I'm comparing a team that I think scores 40 to a team that may struggle to get to 20. So Bijan fits the right builds, but it's very clear to me that Jahmyr Gibbs, the top play at the running back position, in my opinion.
Couldn't agree more. I absolutely love Jahmyr Gibbs today. I'm trying to get to a lot of Bijan as well. I am doing some lineups where instead of playing Gibbs and Wilson, I swap it to Bijan Robinson and David Montgomery.
Fine.
Something like that. But for the most part, I want to play as much Gibbs and Emmanuel Wilson as possible today. I'm trying to keep it like, since I'm playing so many different quarterbacks and so many different stacks, I'm trying to keep a fairly tight running back pool today. And so just switching over for our FanDuel players, if you want like a visual, swapping over to Lineup HQ here as well, give you a look at the ownership percentages of these FanDuel players. But I am trying to keep as tight of a pool as I can because I'm trying all these different stacks. And so outside of the guys we've already talked about, mentioned David Montgomery, I don't think I'm getting to anybody else other than Derrick Henry.
Yeah, love Henry.
And Trevion Henderson.
Yep.
We just got a quote from Mike Vrabel where he was saying like, "Oh, Trevion will get his carries, Stevenson will get in, the other guy, Chin Jennings, is going to get into, and whoever has the hot hand, that's going to get the most work." Well, the other one sucks, so you can assume, like, you could hope that Henderson's probably going to be the one who gets the hot hand, assuming Vrabel is telling the truth. And so Henderson I like for large field tournaments. I'm not getting to as much of him as I am Derrick Henry, but those are the other two running backs that I would put in my Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Emmanuel Wilson, Chase Brown pool.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much nailed my next two guys I was going to talk about. Love Derrick Henry, big home favorites here. A Jets defense that loses Sauce Gardner, loses Quinnen Williams. I just don't see how they slow this guy down. And if Lamar is limited, which we know, Lamar is not right. Something is not there. So this could be one of them big Derrick Henry games. So a ton of him. I love the other call-outs as well. The Trevion Henderson playing a ton. Feels like people are scared, and we don't know. We don't know. We don't have clarity. It could be what we saw weeks ago when we all want Trevion. He's the explosive guy. And here's Ramondre, the plotter. So that being said, Trevion, I have a ton. I do think Ramondre is interesting. There's a lot of these teams where two running backs are viable, and even some on the same lineup. You mentioned Gibbs and Montgomery together. Don't hate that at all. You can pair that with the Lions defense if you want. If they're going to score a ton of points, those guys could both find the end zone and find it twice, multiple times. I think New England, both running backs are viable. And this one's super deep. I think Baltimore, two running backs are viable. Now, this is super, super deep. You're running a ton of lineups. But if this game gets out of hand, Keaton Mitchell could be involved here as well. So I wanted to throw him in there. And then my kind of off the radar, which he's starting to get a little bit more buzz here as we get closer to kickoff. But I really like Michael Tootin today. If anything, it's a split. He's much cheaper than ETN. Good spot against Arizona. A way to lower your ownership on anything Arizona, whether it's Brissett, Wilson, McBride, a combination of all of them. He is my favorite kind of piece to utilize in those lineups. So I think he's good value. And then one DraftKings specific play, and not that he's out of play on FanDuel, but Kenneth Walker is way too cheap on DraftKings. I mean, 5,400 is an absolute steal over there. They're 13.5, 14-point favorites. Yes, he's dinged up a little bit, but much more explosive than what we've seen out of Zach Charbonnet. So wanted to hit on that price on DraftKings. And then one other one, I think Kareem Hunt. Boring, but interesting, more so on FanDuel. A guy I think could score a couple touchdowns today.
just going through my lineups, two guys that I forgot to mention, one of them Tootin, good call there. I'm getting to him as well in a couple lineups. And then I do have a couple Bam Knight lineups. Not a ton, but I am getting to a little bit of Zonovan Knight. Kenneth Walker is the guy that I'm most afraid of not having. I found myself just like really needing $100 to $200 of salary every time. And so I was just David Montgomery and Emmanuel Wilson because I couldn't actually find ways to fit Kenneth Walker in a lot of those lineups. So I am worried about being underweight on him because I did get 0% Kenneth Walker today. So that's the one probably most worried about not getting to. Let's switch over to the receiver
a couple
position.
Others I didn't hit on. One I like and one that seems to be more popular than I'm comfortable with. I do like Saquon Barkley. I get it. If you want to say he's been bad, he's been terrible, the offensive line, I understand all the concerns. I also understand this is a guy with 35 point upside against the Dallas defense, which, yes, is improved, is still not good. So he's interesting. Genty's the one that's seeing way more than I thought he would. Cleveland, a tough matchup, and it's not to say he can't overcome that matchup, but that one just doesn't excite me at all. I get the Genty Raiders pairing going against Shador. That's one I'm kind of staying away from. So if you had any thoughts on Barkley, one I like, Genty, one I'm not so high on.
I have a full fade on both of those guys today.
Okay.
Cowboys' run defense has been quite improved. I think I'd rather attack them through the air. And so I have 0% Barkley today. I got 0% Genty as well. A couple other questions that we can touch on here from the YouTube chat popping in just since we're talking about running backs anyways. What do you think about Breece Hall on DraftKings? I believe Bobby mentioned him on the Grinders Live show this morning. I'm personally not getting any Hall. How about you?
I have none. I have one Jet, and we'll get to him here at the next position. So he's another guy. Yeah. Oh yeah. I got some gross ones.
I got him too.
And you heard about him yesterday. So, these are the dart throws that we're talking about, but yeah, I get it on Breece, but his props were higher than I thought. So that's encouraging, but Baltimore, another D, like you spoke about with Dallas, getting healthier, playing much better, likely playing with a lead. So, he's going to have to get there on receptions. Is Tyrod going to get him the ball that much? Isaiah Davis is there. Not for me today. I certainly understand why somebody would do it, but I haven't landed on any myself.
And then the last one was about Alvin Kamara. 25 touches last week, was very heavily involved. I still don't think I'm going to get there, even with a Tyler Shuck. Like, maybe you never know when they start working Devin Neal in, and it's so tough for Kamara to get in the end zone with how often Taysom Hill gets used in short yardage situations.
Yeah, I'm off of it as well. The old saying, volume is king. His volume is so inefficient. I mean, he's just not putting big games on the board, even with 25 touches. So could he do it? Sure. I'll be off of it if he beats me. So be it. There's just too many good running back plays. I don't know that one's necessary.
Mario Donizzi asking Judkins or Wilson today. Even though Judkins will be virtually unowned, I really, really would much prefer Emmanuel Wilson today. That's chalk. I don't mind eating. Would just rather find somewhere else to get different. Receiver position.
I would go Judkins in tournaments on that one. Wilson, again, I'm personally not as high as everybody else on him. This is my team. I've seen what he's done. I know the workload he's going to get, but I just worry that offense is going to be very inefficient. I think that game's going to be ugly, all in all. I mean, J.J. McCarthy on the other side been struggling. Jordan Love been struggling, missing a ton of weapons. Minnesota's defense better than people realize. So Wilson and cash, sure. I think Judkins in tournaments makes more sense to me.
Apologize if you brought this up and I missed it, but say you were throwing out 150 lineups, would you get any Chris Brooks?
No.
He'll
get work. I don't know that there'll be enough work, the old saying, he doesn't have to do much to pay off that price tag. Well, that doesn't help me in a tournament setting. I need him to do a lot. So I personally wouldn't. I do think he'll be involved, but again, I just don't see fireworks in that game. I think it's a 17-14 type game. Could be wrong, but that's one I've mostly stayed away from.
As we pivot to the wide receiver position, we do have two guys projecting for massive ownership on DraftKings. Amon-Ra St. Brown projecting to be the highest owned receiver on both sites. Despite that, I actually do think it's a pretty wide open receiver position for tournaments. I think there's a lot of different ways that you can go with it. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, Michael Wilson, both on DraftKings, without a doubt, you're playing both of them in cash today. On FanDuel, I think you don't necessarily have to. You probably still are, but you don't necessarily have to. On FanDuel, it is pretty easy to just go Wilson, Higgins, Brown, done. But there are other guys like Diggs who have a really cheap price tag over there. Myers has a really cheap price tag over there that I think are viable in those scenarios. Who are going to be your top receivers to target today? And are you going to be eating the Amon-Ra St. Brown, Michael Wilson chalk, or looking to go elsewhere?
I feel better about Amon-Ra. Obviously, Wilson helped us both tremendously last week, made a run at the FanDuel million with that Arizona triple stack. So shout out to Michael Wilson, but he's still too cheap. He's still in a good role. Jaguars have had issues with wide receiver one. So that's another one I think in cash games makes sense. Tournaments, probably take an underweight approach. I have some. I'm not going to fade him completely. Love Amon-Ra. This is one I don't mind eating some of the chalk at. Multiple Detroit pieces like we talked about, I think are all viable today. So some interesting ones outside of that. I'm not as excited about T. Higgins. I get why people are, and it's not Christian Gonzalez. It's, overall, how successful is that offense going to be? Kind of the same vein with my concerns with Chase Brown. So is a ceiling game possible? Sure. If New England gets out to a lead and, T is going off, then fine. But that one I'll be underweight on as well. Tournament wise, I think JSN, very interesting. I get they're going to have limited attempts, but he's chasing records. He's doing his thing. I think he's going to be low owned with some nice upside. I mentioned I like Caleb Williams. So Rome Odunze been much better against man defense. And you have the value play that a lot of people are getting excited about, and Luther Burden. So I think both of those super interesting. Love Chris Olave today. This matchup just sets up extremely well for him against Atlanta. We know the targets are going to be there. We both like Tyler Shuck, so that's an easy pairing. And even if you don't go that route, I think Olave is still a little bit too cheap. And this week he's not as popular as he's been. He's been like 20-25% every week. Now this week, nobody wants to play him. So like him, Devontae Smith, too cheap on DraftKings. You can make the same case for A.J. Brown as well. Like I said, with Hurts, I think that's an interesting stack on DraftKings. That's too cheap. I prefer Smith. And then I'll let you go, and then we'll get into some of these gross dart throws that I'm taking that I have in a lot of lineups. This is not just me throwing names to entertain everybody. These are guys I'm putting my hard-earned USD on today with some of these nasty plays at wide receiver. But I'll let you hit some of your favorites, and then we can get into that.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're referring to, and I'm getting to a few of those guys as well, so we will get to them shortly. I do really like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Higgins, Wilson, and I'm going to get a lot of them. But I will say if I'm only playing one Cardinal, I'm prioritizing Trey McBride over
Absolutely.
Michael Wilson.
No doubt.
And then I am getting less Amon-Ra St. Brown than I am Jameson Williams. I think Jameson Williams is going to be my favorite receiver on the slate today. Only 5,700 on DraftKings, 71 on FanDuel. Nice cheap price tag. Really, really fond of Jameson Williams today. Outside of those guys, I really like Devonta Smith. I saw we had a question about him in chat. I think we're expecting, we don't know necessarily. They've got a bunch of new defensive pieces. They're swapping things around. But historically, the Cowboys have played a ton of zone defense. That's where Devonta Smith thrives. And so while I like A.J. Brown as well, I think the idea of double stacking with Hurts, even a triple with Goddard, I love that. I'm playing that today. But if I'm only choosing one of these, if I'm only choosing one of the Philly receivers, it's going to be A.J. Brown for me. Diggs on DraftKings.
Are you Smith or Brown? You said Brown, but I think you meant Smith.
Oh, yes. Yes, Smith is my number one. Sorry.
And we're on the same page there. I like, Brown's fine. More so for me in a stack, but I think Smith playable in a stack or without a stack, especially on DraftKings. Again, that whole Philly offense is too cheap.
That's one of my favorite player props today as well. If you can get him in that 54 to 56 receiving yard range, I like taking the over on that. I'm on FanDuel. I think he's a great play because he's really cheap. But on DraftKings, I'm going to be avoiding Stephon Diggs. Like, that's kind of the one thing the Bengals defense can do is limit wide receiver one. So I'd rather play that through the running back position. Like Patriots, I'd rather play through the running back position or a guy like Hunter Henry at tight end. So no Diggs for me on DraftKings. And those are going to be my main targets. I like Olave a lot as well, who you mentioned. I like CeeDee Lamb as a run back if I'm playing a Hurt stack.
Yep.
And then, now's when we get to the gross options.
Yeah, buddy. Love it. But you want to start or you want me to go?
I will start with a couple, and then I'll leave you for the grossest of the gross. But I am playing a fair amount of Andre Yoshivas today, $4,100, decently cheap. You brought up Luther Burden. I like him quite a bit as well. In my Tyrod stacks, I do have a touch of Mechie. In my Shuck stacks, I have a touch of Vele or Tipton, but I'll let you lead off. It's the other jet I'm getting to a ton of, and it terrifies me.
Well, I'll just dip my toe in here a little bit. Not quite as gross as what we're going to talk about, but I think Darnell Mooney, super interesting today. No Drake London, has shown a good rapport with Kirk Cousins. I know it's been ugly, but he is their number one pass catcher. I'm not as high as Kyle Pitts. FanDuel, obviously, that price, very intriguing at 4,900, but he's interesting. Let's get into the nasty one. So I'll start with one I think is a little bit easier to justify, and that's Adonai Mitchell of the Jets. Doesn't necessarily have to be with Tyrod. I think it's great salary relief, and this is more so on DraftKings. Still fine on FanDuel if you need the savings, but 3,200 on DraftKings. Somebody's got to do something there. You know, they're not going to throw for 0 yards. So, yeah, it could be Mason Taylor. It could be Mechie. I just think Mitchell is clearly the best receiving option that they have. So, he is one I like. You mentioned the Saints guys, Vele and Tipton. Those will be more so with Tyler Shuck stuff that I'm utilizing. And the grossest one of all that I'm going to, again, I have in a lot of lineups, not one, not a couple. My boy Mitchell Tinsley. No Jamar Chase. Everyone loves Higgins. Everyone loves Yoshivas. I get it. This guy showed he can play and hasn't really gotten an opportunity. This could be a 0. So, but that's tournament life. You got to take chances. So Mitchell and Tinsley are the two that I'm mixing in the most to open up a salary elsewhere. Could blow up my face. Again, these could be 0s, but both guys that have shown upside have an opportunity today. Tinsley's the one I feel good about. And again, could be wrong, but those two in a lot of lineups today, Mitchell and Tinsley.
The same two guys for me today, and I kind of have the order reversed. I'm going to do a little bit more AD Mitchell than I am Tinsley, but don't feel good about it. But it feels like the Kyle Williams of 2 weeks ago. They're 3K. They're going to get deep shots. Will they hit it? And that's kind of what it comes down to. Probably not a ton of opportunities, but they're going to be high-powered opportunities. And I like Tinsley probably. Adonai Mitchell is the one that scares me the most, just because we know he's going to be out there, but will he catch the ball?
Right. Will he hang on to it if he is happening across the goal line? And so the other thing is both of those teams, massive underdogs. So likely throwing a ton. So you have those additional opportunities. So again, cash games, absolutely not. Don't touch these guys unless you really want to cram in a bunch of high-end guys. You know, I'd feel safer about Mitchell than Tinsley, but, you know, these are the ways to open. We don't have a lot of clear value. So Luther Burden, obviously, in this group as well. Him, you feel a little bit better about. We'll see what the role looks like. That's one of the pieces I'm most excited to see. What does this look like? You know, does he start to overtake even DJ Moore in that pecking order? Also, the tight ends there. We'll get to them, but you know, is it still Loveland and Kmet? Does Loveland kind of continue to nudge forward? So, but yeah, you know, let's get out of this gross wide receiver territory. Anything else that we didn't bring up? I think the Giants guys are interesting. Didn't talk about them. I actually prefer Slayton over Wan'Dale Robinson at lower ownership. You know, big playability. If you got anyone else, I'll look through my lineups and see if there's anybody we missed.
I like Slayton as well. People bringing up Hodgins in chat. I liked him a lot better before Slayton was rolled in. With Slayton in, I'm personally not getting to any Hodgins. Let's pivot to the tight end position. We got to go through it kind of quick. Make sure we save some room for questions here at the end. DraftKings, Trey McBride. Yes, I'm very rarely playing a tight end not named Trey McBride unless I have McBride in flex. I think 2 tight end is very viable. My favorite options are, I guess, Hunter Henry would be my favorite option that's not named Trey McBride. But even then, I'm still only playing another tight end if it's in a stack. So I'm playing Andrews with Lamar. I'm playing Kelsey with Mahomes. I'm playing Theo Johnson with Winston. But it's Trey McBride.
I'm the same. Draft, FanDuel made it a lot harder at 8,500. You don't benefit as much on the, McBride mostly gets there on volume. The touchdowns spike that we've seen has been nice, but 6,800 is still too cheap. I mean, compare his price to what are you paying for a running back or wide receiver in that range, and he blows them out of the water. So whether you go 2 tight ends or not, he's a must for me as well. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again. I don't care his price or his ownership on DraftKings right now. I'm just playing him. So a ton of him. I think I'm higher on Travis Kelce than you are. We got a high total game. We have a must win. I hate to use that phrase, but the Chiefs got to win this game. He has really upped his game of late, and Indy has been horrible against tight end. So if you can't get to him, he's probably my favorite option. Then it's mostly some Hunter Henry, some Mark Andrews. Pitts, like we mentioned, on FanDuel is too cheap. I have some Goddard in some Philadelphia stuff. Bowers is super interesting. Tyler Warren, super interesting in tournaments. I haven't gotten to a ton of those guys, but big-time talents at low ownership. So pretty tight pool for me. It's mostly McBride and Kelsey, to be honest, with a little bit of Andrews and Henry.
And then on FanDuel, I actually do think the cash option can be it's Henry or McBride. If you don't want to get up to McBride, that's totally fine. I think Hunter Henry is a viable option. Yeah. I will just say though, if you want to go 2 tight end, or like if you're looking at flex and you have 8,500 remaining, I would prefer Trey McBride over Derrick Henry, Justin Jefferson, Javonte Williams, Rashee Rice, everybody in that range. I would prefer Trey McBride. Maybe not Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry would be the one that I'd maybe go over McBride in a cash setting. But for tournaments, I still like going McBride there.
And one quick shot. I know we got to get moving. We got questions. Mike Gesicki is cheap on DraftKings. I would expect him to have a bigger role today. So 2,600 is interesting.
Defense, yeah, Mike Gesicki, good call there.
We can fly through defense.
You play Cleveland Browns in cash, no problem at ever. They're going to be crazy chalk. I honestly don't care because Raiders' offensive line is so bad. They're going to get so many stacks today. The 3 you're kind of considering in cash, but I'd want to try and get Cleveland is Cleveland, Vegas, Saints. Other than that, I like Seattle too. I like Detroit. You can kind of play whoever you want.
Yeah, high-end Seattle, Detroit are phenomenal. I think New England will be low-owned. I like the Saints on the cheap. They're getting a ton of ownership. Love your Cleveland call. And then there's some intriguing ones in the mid-range. Teams like the Chiefs, the Bears against Mason Rudolph. So there's ways to go. But I really like paying up for defense this week. I think a lot of people are going to go to Raiders, Browns, and Saints. So paying up for Seahawks, Lions, and Patriots this week.
All right. We hit most of the questions while we were going through position by position. So we're good there, but let's still rapid fire them because if you guys got more, hit the like button on YouTube and get your questions in. FanDuel GPP, 1 bullet, large field. Who's your favorite correlation stack and favorite value piece, Beer?
I mean, I love the Detroit stack this week. That's what I have the most of. I have some Bears. Favorite value piece, I'm going to say Luther Burden.
FanDuel cash tight end is either McBride or Hunter Henry. Those are the 2 guys you are choosing between today.
I think you can go Kelsey in cash. I think you could go Pitts in cash to save some money too.
Is Etienne too expensive for this workload? What do you think of Travis Etienne today?
I prefer Tootin just because he's cheaper. It looks like there's a split. Maybe that changes and they go back to more Etienne. I think it could go the other way, and Tootin has earned a little bit more. So I have a little bit of Etienne. I have a lot of Tootin.
What are your thoughts on Gesicki? We just hit that one. We are feeling like the workload is definitely in question, but he's so cheap. He is still worth a punt play. FanDuel cash, May and Pitts or Brissett and Kelsey?
I'll go Brissett and Kelsey.
Mark Andrews or Hunter Henry? I like Henry on that one. Do you like 2 tight end build?
I'm going to go Andrews.
You got Andrews there? What do you think about a 2 tight end build between Mark Andrews and Kelsey?
Fine with it. I think it's a good way to save money this week. If you don't want to tip your toe into the Mitchells and Tinsleys and guys like that, that's the way to do it.
$7,100 flex spots on DraftKings. Who do you got? I think that's Trevion Henderson for me.
Agreed. I have a lot of Trevion today.
Assuming you don't already have McBride, then it's McBride.
Yes.
Mahomes, Rice, and Kelsey, or May, Henry, and Diggs?
I like the Chiefs set a little better. I like May better than Mahomes, but I feel better about the pairings with Mahomes. We know where the ball's going.
Agreed there. Who do you want like better for a DK GPP, Ravens or Pats defense?
I actually really like them both today. So I'm mostly correlated. If I have Derrick Henry, I like the Ravens. If I have some Trevion, I like New England. New England will probably be a little lower owned, so we'll go with that one for tournaments.
All right, and we have hit all of the questions. If you got more, there's still 2 minutes left to lock. Get them in quick. We can still help you. But Beer, who is your slate breaking play today? I guess we dropped that at the beginning of the show for GPP Final Takes as well, but let's run it back for those who tuned in just for crunch time.
I love Jahmyr Gibbs. So, high end, I think he's the slate breaker today. Lower end, I'm going to say Mitchell Tinsley has a huge game out of nowhere.
I like it. My high-end play, I'm going to go with Trey McBride. I have him in about 90% of my lineups today, trying to play as much Trey McBride as possible. Low-end play, I'm going Jameis Winston. I like the idea of loading up on the Lions, but I like going with a cheap QB, Jameis Winston. Hope that he's just absolutely slinging in the second half with them down a ton of points and them having to catch up. Any love for Alec Pierce? What are your thoughts on him today? I actually do have Pierce in my Mahomes stack.
Yes, love him as a running back on Kansas City stuff. And even as a one-off, he's got a lot of upside. So we didn't bring him up, but I do have him in quite a few lineups.
ATN or Judkins in GPPs today?
I'm going to go Judkins. Less competition.
I can't remember if I brought it up. I have a Shadir Sanders lineup today.
I thought about it. I just could not do it, man. So who knows?
I like the Tyrod, Jameis. Like I like those punt options better, and I'd rather go up to Brissett, but just like 1 of 20, just in case. We don't know for sure he's terrible.
Right.
And so I did throw him in 1 of 20 lineups just in case. We have 1 minute left to lock here. Get your lineup set. Last question here from Iowa Boy. You want Dak Prescott or Jacoby Brissett for season long?
Oh, that's a good question. I still think it's Dak, but man, has Jacoby been good.
Yeah, I have a tough time not going with just my better player in a season-long setting. I typically don't worry about matchups too much when I have a quarterback like Dak. I will say RotoGrinders projections has 18.1 projection for Brissett. For Dak, it is 17.68. So it actually is slightly higher for Jacoby Brissett today. One more question, another season-long one, and then we are out of here. Emmanuel Wilson, Judkins, or Bam Knight?
I'd say Judkins. He's just got a clear role all season. Wilson, Jacobs will be back, and Benson should be back soon. So, and Richie Smalls says I got a Shuck lineup in. I have a couple Shuck lineups in, so I do like that stack a lot.
Same here. I'm getting to some Shuck as well. I like it. Good luck today, everyone. We hope you win some money. Hopefully, we gave you some good advice like last week where we were able to take a bunch of stuff down. Let's keep it going this week. On behalf of myself and Beer, we will see you next time.